All right, what's up, folks? Welcome back to another episode, Tuesday Night Live, 10 Horse Money, YouTube fishing channel. Yeah, that's a mouthful, man. Glad everybody's on here tonight. It's kind of last minute deal. I reached out to Mike. I wasn't gonna do it tonight, and I'm like, man, I need to talk to Mike. I haven't talked to Mike in a while. I know you've been.
Yeah, well, we were supposed to talk back just when you got home from vacation, but Finley passing and everything going on, I didn't want to bother you. So.
Yeah, I know. I was actually thinking about that the other day. I was like, man, I forgot to call Mike and touch base with him. And then I was listening to. I was on the Bluff City Outdoors show, I guess last week or something like that. Yeah, last Tuesday. Tony called me last minute like he always does. And so I was listening to that.
He called you last minute because I called him last minute and said I can't be on.
Well, I was listening to the show that I was on, which, by the way, man, everybody on here, if you're not familiar with the Bluff City Outdoors show, it's a podcast out of St. Louis. And of course, Mark McMurray owns Bluff City Outdoors over in Alton, Illinois. And
1 mile east of Fast Eddie's on Broadway.
That's right. But they do a little podcast every week, and it's pretty good, man. It's
actually a radio show. It goes on the FM radio here in St. Louis.
Yeah. It's a good time. Yeah. But I was going back. I started listening to that one I was on, then I was listening to some that you were on, and you do great on there, man. I enjoy those a bunch. But
nice.
you're talking about your forward-facing sonar, like your first adventure on there. And it was cool. Yeah. You did a good job, like breaking that down.
I had you on the horn when I was doing it. You know?
Yeah, that's right.
You, and I had Eric Adams. I called a couple people that day. You know,
man, it's good to have people that you can call and just kind of bounce ideas off of. And
well, I knew I was setting pretty because Eric Morey had told and Jay set it up. They had it set up, but I don't know I didn't know what I was looking at day one. But it's awesome. And then I went and fished with Dave, one of my oldest friends. I've known him since the second day of high school when I moved to Alton. Spent a week down there in your territory fishing Cedar in Egypt. And forward-facing sonar wasn't even a player whatsoever, other than to tell me there was grass in front of me or it was deep. I still, when I seen something, I threw at it just to see if I could hit it. And I've learned, Gabe, I think we talked about this. Dude, I cast a lot farther than I thought I did. Like, I'm a freaking surveyor by freaking expert in measuring by definition, right? But there's something about that water that's deceiving, And I was talking to Dave Holmes' boy that night. He was a quarterback from the time he was 10 years old. So he's like, I know 10 yards is 30 feet. I know 20 yards is 60 feet. Been doing it my entire life. And I was the same way when I got forward-facing sonar. I realized I was casting about 30 yards farther than I thought I was when I was trying it. Yeah. I'm the same way. Like when I see something out there at like 60 feet, I bomb it and it's way out past that. I've reeled it in now and I'm getting better at it. But that was one of my biggest hurdles was, if I got a dock in front of me or something for reference, that's a different story. But if it's just like open, when I thought I was casting 50, I was casting probably 75, 80 feet.
So what'd you think about, that was the first time you've ever been on Cedar, right?
Yes.
What'd you think about it?
Oh, dude, we crushed them.
Yeah.
It was dirty. It was super, super dirty. It looked like the Mississippi River.
Were you in Dave's boat?
No, we're in the Nitro.
Okay, so you just were on the trolling motor then.
I put it in, yeah.
Did you put in at Carbondale or did you put in at Pomona, the other end?
I put in the very south end, the little bitty ramp that you got to go down a super windy road to get to.
Yeah, it's Pomona.
Okay, yeah.
That's where I always put in at.
It was super windy, dude, and so when you put in at the boat ramp and you just start going out towards the main lake, I just dropped the trolling motor, started fishing. Dave's like, where do you want to start? I was like, right here. There's wind going through that there's like a little saddle there right away. Not too far, And I thought, well, if we don't catch them on this side, we're going to catch them on the windy side of that. Well, shoot, we got to the first point where there's that riprap out there. Long story short, in the course of that day, I probably caught 3 or 4 3-pounders, a couple 4-pounders, several 2.5-pounders right there on that point. And just going back and forth around it.
On the left side, going out on the left side. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I went around the next point, same thing, caught a few in the back. It was so windy, you couldn't hardly stay out there anymore. So we cut straight across the lake over there and did pretty well over there. then came back in and fished almost the entire cove where the boat ramp is, just to get out of the wind a little bit.
That's like one of the best sections of the lake right there, where you put in, which I always tell people that if they want to go over there and just get on the trolling motor, you're right there. That's one of the best areas of the whole lake. That creek, you drive past that creek on the way in, but if you would, instead of going out towards the main lake, if you would have, went straight across in the boat ramp and went to the right, there's a creek that comes in back there, and that whole area.
I did go back there where all those down,
yeah.
And there's lots of down. I guess all the wind they had, they look like a lot of fresh downfalls back there.
Mm-hmm. It's full of lily pads in the back too now.
Yeah,
it gets really shallow back there. It gets really silted in.
But it was the dirt. It was dirty. But I didn't know any better, and I think it had a lot of local people spun out of what to do. And I was like, throw a spinnerbait or a chatterbait. That's what I'm going to do. And I never put down the chatterbait. I just was whacking them on it. It was nuts. Me and Dave had a couple doubles. I don't know how many was our best 5. We didn't really keep track, but caught a couple over 5, several over 4. Yeah, it was fun.
That's awesome, man. You got a good taste of what it can be like.
Yeah. Only thing I was nervous coming down that little windy road for the first time. I'm like, if I meet somebody, what are we doing here?
Yeah, luckily, you got a full size.
If I meet another guy in a full size bass boat, what are we doing here?
Yeah, it's pretty tight, man. There's only there's certain places where you can get off the road, but there's places where you really can't get off the road, and hopefully you meet somebody in that area where you can get off the road.
Yeah, I told Dave I'd almost like to throw up a drone out in front of me to see if it's clear sailing and boogie on down there. Make sure nobody's hooking up their boat or nothing. Nobody's coming, because it was a little nerve-wracking. But
that used to be gravel. Like when I very first started fishing that lake years ago, that was like just gravel, and then they did like the kind of the
oil and chip,
patch and seal type of
oil and chip. I think they call it.
Yeah. So it's gotten
put down some oil better. And rock, and
then that little when you get all the way almost to the parking lot, and then you got to make a pretty tight little left,
right, the left,
Yeah, it's a left and a quick right, and there's a little creek that you go over right there, and there were times when that was washed out. They finally figured out how to get like asphalt to stick to the natural bedrock there, but they would lay blacktop over that, and then the first or second or third really big rain that we'd have, it wash it right out and go right back down the bedrock. And I don't know what they did, but somehow maybe they grinded the surface to make it bond better, but they've got it figured out now. But there were times where when you went there, there was a heavy rain, you didn't know if it was going to be like, if you're going to be able to get across it or not, because
I can believe that. You still don't want to drop a wheel off anywhere around there.
No, that's pretty tight right in there too.
Like my trailer, you would hang it up big time if you dropped a wheel up in there, but it was well worth it for sure. Everybody was cool too. We talked to a couple guys at the boat ramp that knew the channel. I wish I could remember his name, but he knew all of you guys. He knew Trey, of course, and Harple, and everybody in this kind of a small community, because I think this guy painted baits also. But yeah, man, it was a great time. Egypt was great. We slaughtered him at Egypt too.
Yeah, Dave's good on Egypt.
Yeah, and only thing I'll say is it's probably a sore subject with everybody that listens to this, but that stupid dock rule is the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. Like,
I think everybody
you're just asking for controversy and issues, and it's like I say at the end of the fishing rod, wear your life jacket and kill switch, and don't be a dick. That should be the only rules of fishing, really. It's just like,
yeah, I don't know how that started. I mean, I don't know if that was just like right from the very beginning they had that
people with a lot of money and nice houses, maybe. I don't know, but to think that you would go out and spend the money to buy 3 or 4 signs, and hell, there's people buoying off areas around their dock and stuff. It's like, you don't own that shit. I don't.
Yeah, I know. And I think it's actually, they can't do anything about it, I think.
Probably not. And they're not going to, conservation isn't going to waste their time coming out there, and the Lake Patrol can't write you a ticket for that. And
right.
It's just, for a guy like me that tries to be I'm not a uptight dude, as you know.
You fish Lake of the Ozarks all the time. It's like,
I follow the rules.
Ozarks, not being able to fish docks. It's like,
yeah. And like, you know, you've been in the boat. We've both done this where if I get hung up on your dock, I'm going out of my way to not tear your dock up or leave my jig hanging on your dock. I don't want to see anybody get hurt when they're swimming or somebody's dog step on, you know, whatever. So I ain't going to land it in your boat and try to jerk it out of there. I'm going to lay my rod down and tie the boat up if I have to and walk out and gingerly get it so I don't hook it in your seat or whatever, you know?
Yeah. And
that's just the way everybody should be. It's just
most people are, I would say.
Dude, it's like I went to some golf courses I go to that they don't want you walking into their yard to look for your ball. I'm like, well, don't build your house on a golf course, dude. I know it's out of bounds, but I'd like to get my ball back. I can see it, you know?
Yeah. That reminds me of Hellabass had one of his most viral videos. I think it got like 1 million views. It was a little short, and it was a Karen video. You know, when the Karen deal was really popular.
Yeah, Karen videos are popular. Yeah,
2 years ago. Yeah, he was fishing some dock. He's up in Minnesota and he's fishing some dock, and this lady comes out and starts chewing on him. And she said, well, I don't want people fishing my dock. And he said, well, you probably shouldn't have built a house on a lake with a dock if you don't want if you don't want people that fish in this lake to fish your dock. It was the same concept as what you were saying about the golf course.
Right. Well, it's also my favorite was when I would go by the fronts of a dock and and it would be loaded with brush. I'm like, all right, you don't want people fishing around your dock. Stop planting brush all around your dock.
Yeah.
I mean, I know they want to fish it. That's what I don't understand. If you're a fisherman, why would you go to that and then put up signs that say, don't fish around my dock? This blows my mind.
Exactly.
Most people that I would think that bought a house on a golf course are probably golfers. Mm-hmm. So maybe that's why they make the rule, right? So they can take your friggin' balls. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe so. Maybe they got a little side job where they got a little.
Well, in their defense, they probably
golf ball stand out front.
In their defense, they probably got to collect enough Titleist Pro V1s and sell them to pay for the eventual window that's going to get broke.
Yeah, or the HOA fees.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I've never broke one, but I know many people that have. But
yeah. Jay's comment is he didn't know that the one cove was off limits one time because it's not marked very well. Explains why he caught the hell out of them. That's at Egypt. I told this story like it's been
there's a whole cove you can't fish.
Yeah, it's got buoys out. It's a private cove and you can't go in there. And I was fishing a little 9.9 club tournament years ago, and it was really tough. And my buddy, I saw him turn around the point and go towards that cove. And anyway, I fished on past him, and he called me like 30 minutes. He's like, you catching any? I'm like, no, dude, it sucks. I've caught like 3 little babies. And he's like, dude, I'm smoking them. And I'm like, what? Yeah, I got like, I got 3 overs and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, where are you at? And he goes, you know that cove that's got those little buoys out in the front of it? And I'm like, yeah. He goes, I'm in the back of that. And I'm like, well, no wonder you're catching them. That's like a private cove. You're not supposed to be back there. Those fish haven't seen a lure in, a while. So
yeah, that's wild that they even have a place like that.
Yeah, I don't know what the story is on that.
What part of the lake is that? Not that I'm even that familiar with the lake.
It's in the main. It's in the lower end near the dam. It's on the same side as the power plant, but just probably like 3 or 4 coves away from the dam.
But not on the marina side. It's on the.
It's on the opposite side. Yeah. If you went straight out of the marina, it'd be just a little bit, to your south from there.
Okay.
Yeah, you can't miss it. There's buoys across the face of it.
Yeah, well, I mean, sure, it's not like a danger thing for getting in where the power plant is or something.
No, it's not even close to the power plant. It's several coves away. It's just one of those private coves that, for whatever reason, people don't want you fishing. I don't know. Burning Season says in New York, if you have a dock, it's considered public property. Anyone can use it at any time. What happens when you put something in public water? I don't think anybody should be able to use your dock, but I think people should be able to fish the water that's underneath your dock. I don't want to see like those laws they have out west about, if you're fishing a river, there's certain states that have, there's like the high water property mark. There's the low water. There's the center of the
foul wig, they call it. Yeah.
Creek. There's you can flip riders, and you gotta know the state rules when you're trout fishing and stuff.
barbless hooks. You ever use one when you trout fish, Gabe?
Barbless hooks? Yeah, I usually
Yeah.
do because I'm just catch and release. As
And
long
you
as you
don't
keep
have any.
tension on the fish, fine.
Yeah. The owner of my company was asking me about that today because he's starting to take his little grandsons fishing, and he was wondering if that might be a good idea to make sure they don't hook themselves too bad.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean,
well,
the
if
good
you're
thing
catching
about
and release it teach you how to. If you can catch them on a barbless, you'll be fine when you put a barb on there. You'll learn how to land them.
I mean, the good thing about like fly fishing is, okay, there's a good thing and there's not a good thing about fly fishing. The good thing is the hooks are super small most of the time. A lot of the flies are like size 16 to size 20. The bad thing is you got glasses on, I got contacts, but the older you get, it's damn near impossible to thread like 4.8 pound fluorocarbon through a size 18 hook. Like the eye of that hook is
I can't imagine.
Unless it's like full sunshine, the sun directly overhead, you got 2 hours, the 2 hours before sunup and 2 hours before sundown, or after sunup and before sundown, maybe even 3 hours on either side. I can't do it. I'm sitting there like, because we just got back from Colorado and I did a lot of fly fishing out there.
Right.
And it's weird. It's like a brain. It's a brain. It messes with your brain. So you try to run that line through the hook and you miss it in the front. Okay. So you're like, I'm going to recalculate. I'm going to move away from my head approximately, 2 centimeters. And then I should hit that hole. Right. Well, you can't do it. It's like your brain tells you to go like do the same thing over and over. It's super hard. Or you'll go behind it. It's like you're trying to
like a big magnifying glass that folds down.
Yeah, you're trying to put this mathematical equation together in your head, and your brain and your eyes, they won't let you do it. So I bought some they got those little flip down magnifier glasses, and that makes a huge difference. But that's
that's kind of like online when I went to point at something because the camera's backwards.
Yeah, exactly.
Messes with your brain.
Yeah, so you use 20 pound. You're a 22 pound fluorocarbon guy. You don't have that.
Well, when I'm finessing, I go 20. 18 sometimes.
Yeah, 18. Yeah. That's pretty rare.
Yeah. They quit making my sun line, flipping line. I'm so bummed. I looked. I looked high and low. I was going to buy every bit that I could get my hands on, but it's gone everywhere. There was no warning, and I'm sure somebody in the know probably bought up as much of it as they could. I can't even find it on eBay. I figured somebody bought it.
Weird. That was good stuff too.
Yeah. Hopefully somebody else will come out with it.
Yeah. JP says trout have a delicate mouths, helps with survival rate to use barbless hooks.
Yeah, I knew they used them on trout a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. There's nothing wrong with that. Like I said, as long as you keep pressure on it, you get them in. You don't really lose that many fish.
No, like I said, that's kind of teaching you how to play a fish and land it, not try to just drag it in.
Yeah. So
I guess you can't really drag them on a fly setup anyway, right? I mean, that line and the current and all that.
Yeah, and the fly rod, like I got 2 fly rods that I mainly fish with. I have an 8'6" 3-weight, and then I have a 9-foot 5-weight. I like that 8'6" 3-weight for flies, like dry fly fishing. It's perfect. And then lighter nymph rigs. But when I'm doing like streamers and a little bit heavier nymph rigs and heavier indicator rigs, I go with that 5-weight because it's just got more backbone. But even that 5-weight, it loads up like almost all the way down to the cork, so you're keeping tension on that fish most of the time. Unless it's a really small fish, you can get it up on top of the water and swing it towards you. But most of the time, it's not like a flipping stick, you can't really rip them out of the water. It's fun though. I mean, it's a lot more work. Definitely. It's fly fishing is, it's a lot of work. It's not just work like waiting around and fighting the current and stuff, but the actual casting,
I can imagine. Yeah.
A bunch of casts, and you always got to pay attention to your line, what it's doing. And it's a lot more, I don't know if it's more mental. It's just different.
It's a different kind of mental.
It's a different kind of fishing. It's more maybe art. It's more of an art form, maybe. I don't know. But I enjoy it, man. It's a good time.
I would like to try it sometime.
Yeah, Pickwick Pirate says, what sunline were you talking about again?
That sunline flipping line, I guess it's every
3 different. It's tricolored, like every.
It's just bicolor. It's just got streaks
bicolored.
of yellow every 18 inches or something.
Yeah,
or high vis. It's really great for just being a guy that's a jig fisherman that's line watching all the time.
Yeah,
really just as my eyes get older and stuff. So.
Yeah, so we got open format, folks at home.
Yeah,
you want to talk about whatever, throw it out there, questions, anything you want to share, any kind of information. I got a few things written down that we'll touch on, but before we go a little bit any further, just a shout out to the people that help us sponsor this stream. Bass Braid, it's a premium 8-strand braid. It's like top water time, man. I mean, I went fishing with my buddy Jerry the other day, and he had several blow-ups on a frog. I know some people have been catching them on a buzzbait. That's a lot of people throw a buzzbait on braid, and you definitely want to be throwing a frog on braid. So check out Bass Braid. Sniping Braid is a smaller version in the same line under the same umbrella. They're geared more.
Can I get that at Baitworks, Gabe, or where do you get it?
No, it's you just have to go to I think Sniping Braid or bassbraid.com. He's selling it independently. I don't know if I don't think he's stocking it in any stores, but
I was going to say, I wonder if he'd want to stock it in Bluff City. I bet Mark could be interested in that.
Well, it's good braid, dude. I mean, it really is. He reached out to me last year because I fished with it. It's Matt who's he owns 3-pound guide fishing or 3-pound fishing guide service over on Lake of Egypt. He's a crappie guy. He fishes crappie tournaments and stuff. And he started selling the sniping braid last year. He's got a whole line, a whole website with all kinds of really cool crappie gear, but he started selling the sniping braid, and this is like lighter stuff, it's like 15 pound, 10 pound, 8 pound kind of stuff. And then he started getting into the bass braid, and he reached out to me because of my YouTube channel and stuff. And he said, hey, I'm going to start selling some of this bass braid, 40 pound, 50 pound, 60 pound. And we're going to just sell this and keep it kind of simple, keep it just a few sizes and like moss green, and see how it works out. If you're interested in talking about it, I'd like to, kind of sponsor the stream. And I'm like, yeah, man, sure. Send me some of it and I'll try it out. And so I took all my other braid off because I've been a Power Pro guy. I just always fish Power Pro, and I like Power Pro. And so I took all the Power Pro off and put this stuff on it, and I absolutely love it. It's really good. It's smooth, seems to hold up the color really well. And the price point, it's very reasonably priced, which, anytime you can find something that's pretty good and it's a little bit cheaper than the other stuff out there, it's kind of a win-win situation. So yeah, next time you guys are looking for some braid, go check that out.
Definitely, man.
Yeah.
And for a bait caster application, that's really the only 3 sizes you need.
It really is. Yep.
40 variation. Yeah.
Yeah, I use 50 for my frogs, and I use 60 for punching, and then 40 for like a buzz bait. And a lot of guys throw a swim jig, like JB. He throws a swim jig on braid, and he'll use
40 would be good for a whopper popper or like that.
Yeah, it's just like you said, you only need a few sizes, and then if you need for your spinning, like your spinning stuff,
but that's some 10-pound mono or whatever for
Yeah, I've got this on several of my spinning rods, like the 15-pound sniping braid, and it's really good stuff too. So I've been happy with it, man.
When you sent me what rod to get from the kid from the classic, I got the exact rod, the exact line. I just screw it. He knows what he's doing. I went whatever 15-pound braid to like 16-pound fluorocarbon or whatever. The hooks and the worms that he was using in the classic are still completely sold out. Can't get my hands on those, but. And the little rings that I think that he used for that wacky rig, the type of hook. And that hook looked really cool to me with the 2 weed guards on it and for getting it through those trees.
Yeah.
Wacky rigged. What's that kid's name? I can't think of his name. The kid that won the classic.
Easton Fothergill?
Fothergill, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was interesting how he's throwing a wacky rig in the trees there. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And he said he would keep moving around the tree until he could see him on forward to make that one cast because he knew he had to make sure the branches weren't in the way because there's no way he was getting them out of there on that light setup.
Yeah.
Those mesquite trees. That is some sniper, patient, mad skills, man.
That's hunting, man. He was hunting those fish.
Yeah,
Most people can't do that, man.
No. I mean, that's even, yeah, it's mind-boggling that a guy can be that young and that focused. And his story is amazing and altogether, just how he even said, like, I'm going to look back on this 2.5 year run, and when I'm 70 years old, if I'd lived to be that long, it'd be like, wow, that was crazy. You know, to went through the high school thing, the high school to the college, and then the brain tumor, and make it to the classic and win the classic and make it to the Elite Series. Yeah, I mean,
and
all that happened.
Humble. He's like
super humble. Yeah, very well spoken and kind of, yeah. You root for a guy like that. I think he's. How could you not?
Stuff right here. Jay was. I don't know if Jay's still on there, but so.
Well, that's the fish smelly stuff, right? Yeah.
Scent, man. Like,
yeah.
Right now is the time to be using scent, because these fish can be in a funk. Like the other day when I was out on the water with Jerry, and we'll kind of, I want to talk about like fishing and what fishing means to different people and stuff. We'll get into that in a little bit. But when I was out there with Jerry the other day, I hadn't fished with him, like, it seems like I haven't been in the boat with him for like 3 years or something. So it was cool to jump back in the boat with him. But we were flipping grass. I mean, I caught some fish on that Bama swim jig by Cumberland Pro Lures, but we covered a lot of water and not getting bites. So it was obvious they were kind of in a, that first round of fish moved up in April. So there's post spawn stuff going on. It can get kind of funky. You think it's spring and you're just going to go out and crush them. It's not like that all the time. There's a lot of really tough days. And I sprayed some of this Strike Force on there on my flipping bait. Jerry was flipping and I was flipping, and I caught quite a bit more than him. And I think it had to be this scent, because this is that time of year where it's like they're in a funk, right? And if you can put something on there that can make their mind up, can change their mind, and not just that, keep them holding on to the bait, because they're like they'll just grab it and they'll just kind of move it. And you don't really even know what happens sometimes unless you're completely tuned in. If you got a little bit of wind, the water's dirty, you might not be able to see your line. We're fishing around grass. So if you can put something on your lure that will help that bass hang on to it a little bit longer, you're going to get more bites. It's just going to give you a lot longer to realize that a fish is actually holding onto your bait, because that happens a lot too. You flip in there, you got grass, you pull up, it feels like grass. It just feels like grass. Sometimes it's a fish just kind of holding onto it. Well, they may drop it, but if it tastes good, they might hold onto it a little bit and they might move off just slightly, and that gives you time to set the hook, because that was happening quite a bit.
To figure out that grass is probably not swimming off with my bait. That's what you need.
Grass fishing's weird, man. It takes a little bit to get used to, but so this is the time you want to put some scent on there. Jay's got this company going. It's a good product. I've been squirting it on a lot of my stuff the last couple months. I've been putting on jerk baits and stuff, and I'm a big believer in scent. Probably the best thing to do with scent is the night before you go fishing. If you think you're going to be fishing with a couple different bags of baits, whatever it is, if you're going to be throwing a Cinco's or whatever, spray some of this in the bag, work it around, and just let it set up for a couple hours. It kind of soaks into the plastic. And if you forget to do that, you can still spray it on, out on the water. But it does best if you kind of let it marinate for a day. It works, man. And like I said, this is that time of year where it can really, really, really make a difference. So go check them out, man. They're doing good stuff. It's a good product. They got a bunch of flavors. Another
old trick that I do with scents, I'm sure would work perfect with that, is when I'm flipping a tube, is I squirt it inside the tube, and then I stick an earplug in there to keep it from coming back out, and then that earplug soaks it up, and when it's dropping, it's leaving like a little oily scent trail behind it. When that tube's doing this and just kind of letting that stuff come out. And if you ever, I don't know if anybody ever fishes a tube besides me and Dave Holm behind a Carolina rig, but when you put that earplug in there and it floats that tube up a little bit when you're dragging it on a Carolina rig, with that scent in there, that's the ticket.
Yeah.
I mean, like you said, any little bit to get him to hold on to that thing, or to just give it a tug so you know that they're there. Because when they're being weird, they're being weird.
Yeah.
You know,
And
that bite that just feels like someone's got a dish rag over your bait. You're like, what is that? And the next thing you know, if it moves, well, then you might want to swing on them. I was a little rusty the other day with Dave. I had a couple of those. Like, what were you waiting for exactly? He doesn't have hands. He's got it.
Yeah.
You know?
I know.
Yeah.
I had a couple the other day that I just kind of like to see what they were gonna do, and they'd swim all the way to the boat with it almost. And then you'd still miss them sometimes because they're holding on to the back of the bait, you know.
Yeah.
I was throwing that flip around and find out, which is a new bait from.
I like the name of that. Yes.
Yeah, I'll show it to you. I brought a bunch of baits.
What's it look like? Are you gonna get one out?
It's like a small beaver style bait.
All right. D-bomb beaverish.
Yeah. So let me flip this little light on. So that's what it looks like.
Oh,
so a small beaver. It comes with the legs together. So of course you just like flip those suckers apart. But it's like set up perfectly for a 3 or a 4/0 hook. I've been using that Gamakatsu Super Line EWG. Like the 3/0 is perfect. The 4/0 fits in there perfect too. But
you going with a flipping hook or an offset?
Just an EWG. That's all I've been throwing on it.
I still like throwing EWGs, man. I don't know.
I mean, when I'm punching, I'm throwing a flipping hook, straight shank.
Well, anytime I've got a big weight in front of it, I'm putting a flipping hook and a snell knot on there.
Yeah, but that June
you got to get that. You got to blast that hook up into their mouth and get that big weight out of the way.
Yes, yeah, you need a big gap on that. I agree 100%. And this color is 1099. I've caught a had a couple good days on that.
Yeah,
pull it out.
Speaking of 1099, do you see where Marcus got the W down at Table Rock?
Yeah, good for him.
Good for Marcus, man. Yeah, he needed that.
Yeah, he did, man.
People would say, "What do you think's wrong with Marcus?" I was like, "Ain't nothing wrong with him, dude. It's fishing, and he's got a life. You know, I mean,
oh yeah,
he's got kids that are in high school. It's the same with me. Not even fishing tournaments right now. I'm just enjoying my kids and getting my crap back together. You know, that's how the Sonar works. That is a beauty.
1099.
It's a green pumpkin with blue in it. Flake.
Yeah, and it's got it's like brown on one side and green pumpkin on the other or something. I don't know. I'm colorblind, but it's cool. It's 2 different colors.
Oh, it's like, It's like laminate.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Like the old robo worms when they used to split them down the middle.
But yeah, they're cool, man.
Either one of those.
What's that?
Either one of those look killer, but man, that second one you pulled out the
June
they got a bunch tried and true, but 1099.
I've been playing around with it. I like it, man. I like playing around with new baits, and like I said, it's a
flipping it, punching it, both.
It's a little smaller than a beaver. Jerry was throwing a beaver behind me, and I was catching way more fish in front of him. Of course, I was in front of him, but I still think with this little bit smaller profile, I was getting more bites.
I bet in the colder water too, Gabe, you could leave those legs together and it'd have that little bit more.
That's what it does. It has that kind of action to it. It's weird. Like so when you pop it up next to a grass stalk, it does this on the way down. It's different. I mean,
somewhere between somewhere between a tube and a a soft plastic. It's got that shape.
Yeah, it's got a different
tubes get all crazy
from a D-bomb and a little bit different action from a beaver. Because I mean, beaver's like my confidence, like an action, Reaction Innovation Sweet Beaver. That's been my confidence bait forever. I love that. But
that and the D-bomb are my 2 favorites.
Yeah, they're all really good. But I think that all 3 of these have a little bit different actions. So
sure, that's why we buy all 3.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I'm serious. When we were at Egypt, Dave was just crushing them on the D-bomb, and I couldn't get bit on the 3 or 4 things that I was trying. I caught some on a tube, but then the other stuff that I was like, oh, I'll try this. Finally, I was like, all right, Dave, I know you said you didn't have many left, but I need one of those D-bombs. I don't think it was the color by any means. It was the shape and the action.
I was telling when I was fishing with Jerry the other day, we had a day. It was on Cedar, and it was about 5 years ago, and it was it was like during the spawn. I think there might have been the last wave of spawners up, but there was post spawners up, and we were flipping. I was in the front of the boat. I was flipping a beaver, an actual sweet beaver, and he was flipping a D-bomb. And the color of beaver that I was flipping was Dirty Sanchez, which is my favorite color, you know. And he was flipping the D-bomb in the dill pickle color, and they're really similar.
Yeah.
If you pull them up, I mean, they're just, I don't know if I can.
They're very similar.
Yeah, let me
Magic Cross Swirl is my favorite in the.
That's a good one. Let's see if they got them on here. So he was I'm flipping up front, and I got a lot of confidence on this color, and he's catching them behind me, like good ones. These are like 5-pounders, five and close. They're pushing 6. Like almost every one is like between 4 and 6 pounds. And I'm like, okay, you know, he does it once. Well, okay, we're flipping. I flipped to the wrong side of the log or something, you know. That's what I'm thinking.
Right.
And then we go down a little bit further, and he catches another one. And it got to the point where it was obvious that it was not the where I was flipping it at, because there was several times where I had already fished that log on that side.
Yeah, man.
And he comes through there and catches it. Yeah. So for some reason that day they wanted a D-bomb versus the beaver.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm trying to pull them. And it would be different if he was throwing like June bug and I was throwing like green pumpkin. You know, I get that.
Fire red or something completely different. Yeah.
Yeah. But it wasn't. It was super close to the same color. I'm trying to see if they've got that here. No, they don't have that. Let me see. We'll see if hey, there it is. Oh, you guys can't see it. I'm sitting here talking to myself over here. Let me pull up anyway, sometimes just the profile. And when I had John Cruz on here one time, and I told John Cruz that story. I was like, I told him the whole story about it, and he said, well, sometimes it's just that the D-bomb puts off it puts off more water displacement. It displaces more water. And that's what they were wanting that day versus the
could be because, well, I don't know, man. They both got a lot of ribs on them.
I know. That's what he was saying.
I don't know either, but that kind of little stuff does make a difference. It wasn't like I wasn't catching any fish. I just wasn't catching near as many and definitely not as big. So.
And what are you flipping behind him?
I flipped a rage craw, a yum craw, a tube, which I had the most luck on the tube. And then I went to, what's the Jean LaRue bug?
Oh, like a salt craw?
No, it's the biffle bug.
Yeah.
Biffle bug. Yeah, I had a rattling biffle bug. Had some luck on that, but nothing like that D-bomb. And it could have been the color. He was throwing like, I think it was green pumpkin and copper flake in it.
Yeah, so here we go. Let's see if I can pull those up here. I'm going to share the screen. Okay, so here's the dill pickle color.
Okay. That's very close to the Dirty Sanchez. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, okay. And then I wish I could do them side by side, but I'm not that talented. Yeah. Let's pull up the move that.
Well, his ribs are different. You're right. They're thinner and longer on the D-bomb or on the D-bomb.
And then here's I mean,
Yeah.
the color is similar.
Color is very similar.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like I said, it's not like I was throwing June bug and he was throwing, green pumpkin or something.
You throwing the big beaver or the little beaver?
The 420. Yeah. Just the standard size.
Man, Reaction Innovation. Both of those companies make outstanding baits. Missile and Reaction Innovation.
I'm trying to
I don't know who. I'm trying to think of that guy's name that started that company years ago. He sold it years ago, but he was a cool guy.
Yeah, he was an interesting fella.
Yes. Didn't he date? He dated that Australian chick for a while. Maybe they were even married. It was over here fishing. Kim Bain, I think her name.
Huh. You can tell by the names of the color names that he's a.
You can tell him and his buddies in California were
Tramp Stamp and Dirty Sanchez and yeah.
420 was another color too.
Yeah. I hate to hear that. TB Brock said there's a guy who was killed yesterday on Cumberland Lake, hit something in the water, the motor came off and hit that guy.
I'm getting one of those leashes for my boat. I mean,
yeah, I got the hat on, man. I got one coming for my boat too. Well, it's actually it's that ACS Marine right now. They're supposed to be installing it, but that, man, I'm telling you guys, weird stuff happens out there in the water, and so many people have been hurt because they hit something and their motor rolls up into the back of the boat. There was a guy, he was a UPS carrier here locally, and they were fishing a team tournament on Kentucky Lake, and they were a little bit late heading back into weigh-in. They, instead of going under the bridge towards the center, they tried to take a little shortcut, and they cut in between the bank and the pillar. And apparently the story is it was either a pier from the old bridge or something, but there was a concrete structure that was just a little bit under the water, and the water was low enough to where when they're coming through there, the motor hit that concrete structure, stopped the boat, the motor broke loose, and it rolled back across the back deck and hit the guy in the back of the head, and that was it. I mean, he was gone instantly. So that's the kind of scenario where that leash, like you're talking about, would keep that motor from jumping.
Yeah, at first I was like, well, I mostly fish Lake of the Ozarks and don't have to worry too much about hitting something like that. And then I thought to myself, and I know the lake pretty well. And then I thought to myself, yeah, but every once in a while I just get the wild hair and go out on the Mississippi. Mm-hmm. It only takes that one time.
Yeah, I mean, think about a dock, like a piece of a dock coming loose at Lake of the Ozarks.
Same thing.
Around. You never know.
Yeah. I've told this story to you. I don't know if I ever told it on the show, but I was running up Long Creek, way up Long Creek years ago at Table Rock, and it was because it was flooded, and it was early in the morning. And I'm taking my time in this little creek. Probably I'm on pad, not screaming. Maybe going 35 miles an hour, 40, and all of a sudden I start to see something floating, and it's like, what is that? And I shut down, and right as I shut down, I went boom, up and over. It had flooded a farm field, and the round bales were coming down the creek.
Holy cow!
You don't want to hit one of those either. I mean, I know it's not concrete, but those are big and heavy. It would have jacked you up. So yeah, I'm going to try to get my hands on one too and have it put on my boat. So it's just another layer of safety. It's no different than I preach wearing a life jacket. I know a lot of guys, don't put on a life jacket if they're not in a tournament. I'm not that way. I always wear my life jacket. But
yeah, I'm getting better at it. I'm still guilty of not doing it, but I wear it a lot more than I used to. And
in the winter, I wear it all the time, fishing and everything. If I'm by myself, for sure. If I'm by myself fishing in the wintertime, I always put it on. You ain't got long with all those clothes on in the water by yourself. So what if you hit your head on the way in? So
yeah, exactly. You just never know what's going to happen out there on the lake.
Yeah. I'm trying to lose a little weight. My daughter her birthday last night. We were having ice cream cake, and I was jokingly saying, Marshall said he had to sign up for the selective service, and Elena asked what it was, and he was like, for the draft. And I made the comment, they shouldn't draft you young guys. They should draft us old, angry, pissed off guys. We'll go. I ain't got a whole lot more to live anywhere or much to live for. And Elena leaned over to me and smiled, and tapped me on the belly. He says, "What do you mean, Dad? You got a baby on the way?" You know, it's like, all right. As we're eating Dairy Queen ice cream cake, I had the smallest piece, by the way. Have lost quite a bit of weight. Me and Hank are getting about 4 to 6 miles a night in walking. So the new dog. So
yeah,
I got her down to. You'll appreciate this because you walk a little like. I got it down to my splits are 15. So I'm doing a mile walking at 15 minutes and 15 seconds on average and doing 6 miles. And in my app, I'm getting where I get a walk around here in Fenton. There's a lot of hills. I do like 575 feet of elevation change in the course of my walk. So a couple of really long uphills, you know, which is nice. So I'm getting back to it. I got over the blisters. Now I'm almost over the shin splints. Now we'll throw the weighted vest on here pretty soon and get back to the blisters and going through the shin splints again. But, you know, if you've never done it, put a 27 or 30 pound weighted vest on and it'll make you realize losing 30 pounds would be a real good idea.
Yeah. That's what my wife wanted for Christmas was one of those weighted vests. So we got that. She's been doing different tasks, you know, just wearing it around the house while she's doing her normal stuff. And it wears you out, man, for sure.
Yeah, just do some lunges and air squats with it on, you know.
So check this stuff out. I brought a couple different things down here. This guy, James, he sent these to me. He's making these. The company's called Hawgz Custom Baits. And they're really pretty cool design. I haven't really seen anything like this. And I haven't had a chance to really. I took it out the other day and fished with it for the first time just to see how it acts. But the water's so stained right now. It's more of a clear water type of bait. But
oh wow,
yeah, it's
I'd like to see that on the back of a chatterbait.
And this is probably like 7 inches long, so it's bigger than what you think. So it's kind of I don't know if you can really see that. See that?
You can see it, yeah.
Okay. It's really unique. It's kind of got a larger type of body, maybe. But then this tail,
it's like the old sluggo. The head, the first part is like an old sluggo.
You're kind of right. It kind of is like a combination hybrid thing, and it's got a spade. You know, it's got that spade type of tail. Yeah, it's segmented right here in this area right there. But it's a unique little bait, and you know, I'm thinking it'd be really good on the back of like a scrounger head.
Oh my god!
It'd be probably good on a Carolina rig.
Put it on a wobble head.
A wobble head, or just way
shatter feeding on the bottom.
Yeah, I had one of the 6/0 screw lock hooks on there, and just was kind of twitching it around like a fluke style bait, which is probably that's what he said he does with it.
I was gonna say that in grass would be deadly rigged on a screw lock like that.
Yeah, so I think this is pretty cool little bait. I'm gonna be kind of.
How do I get my hands on one of those?
Yeah, the company is Hawgz Custom Baits. I'm sure. I think he's got a Facebook page. But
I'm gonna get online and
check it. He's a super nice guy, man. Super nice guy. He reached out to me and he sent me some pictures. And I'm like, dude, those are cool. He's like, I'll send you a pack or two. So he sent me those, and he's got a couple different colors. Like he sent me let's see this color right here. I think this is just more of a green pumpkin type of color. Yeah, this is basically like a green pumpkin with some kind of purple. Blue in there. Same body style. But then he's got some other stuff too that he's
those look really good. I know it's long, but I'd still try that dude on a chatterbait, man.
Yeah.
Kind of reminds me a little of the dancing eel.
It would work on chatterbait. Yeah.
I had a guy try to buy the
couple. This is
called
the RC worm and brown sugar. The dancing eel, you got some still?
I got 2 or 3 of them around somewhere. I got a whole 80s tactical section in my basement here.
So this is called the RC worm. So it's kind of like a centipede or I don't know what you call it, like a helgamite, like a giant helgamite.
Yeah.
Almost. I'll hold it by the tail.
Man, that might make a decent punching bait.
Yeah, I think it'd be a really good shaky head bait too, because it's
yeah.
It seems like it's maybe 5.5 inches long, but it's fat like it's about as fat as like a Cinco, maybe a little bit thinner than a Cinco, but it's got these little legs. So that's probably what I'll be doing that with, either Carolina rigging it or
that'd be good too.
Shaky head, or you could punch it too. You probably even Texas rig it. And that's the RC worm.
That's cool.
And that was brown sugar. And then he sent me another pack in blue crawl, which is one of your favorite colors, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, it's not the swirl, but it's
but it's the same concept.
Yeah. It's kind of translucent purplish kind of stuff, but it's not showing up that great. But same design. And then he sent me, there's another design that he sent, and it's called the Mud Turd. Like that name.
Mud butt.
Yeah, and it's an interesting little guy too.
It is like a turd.
Yeah, it looks like a turd. It's flat.
It's got rest rings in it, Gabe. That's what it is.
It's multi-purpose for sure. But yeah, it's flat. It's flat on the bottom, and it's ribbed for the fish's pleasure.
Fish's pleasure.
Nice pointy tail, like kind of dark shaped, and then the heads. It's an interesting looking bait. I haven't really seen anything like it, but I'm sure it glides really good with that really flat belly on there.
That probably moves some water too.
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah, it reminds me of my grandma's hands, like the knuckles. Mine are getting like that too. So yeah, check them out. Real fast custom baits. Yeah, look him up on Facebook. Like I say, he's a really good dude, man. He was nice. We texted back and forth.
You said he's around Kentucky Lake, or where'd you say?
No, he is out of Mississippi.
Oh wow,
out of Mississippi. Yeah,
that's cool that you got guys from Mississippi reaching out to you.
And then a couple more things I want to show you real quick.
Definitely.
So Copper Red Baits, they make one of the best frogs out there. Nobody's heard of them, but I'm just telling you, they make a killer frog. I've been fishing with the frog the last couple of years. You just got to buy one. I mean, I'm not, it sounds like I'm trying to sell you a bunch of crap, but really, I've been playing around with this stuff, and it's good stuff, or I wouldn't even be talking about it. A lot of stuff I don't talk about because it's not all that great, but this is a really, really, really good frog. So if you guys want to buy a new frog, trust me, go buy one of those Copper Red frogs. You got a bunch of cool colors. I did a couple videos on them. The hook's set up right. It walks super, super good. It's nice and soft. It collapses. Yeah, yada, yada, yada. But anyway,
give me another look at that, Gabe. Like hanging it by his head there. Like so we can see the shape.
It's got a unique shape. And this isn't the best. I don't know if I have another one up here. This isn't the best color to kind of show it because you can't see it, but it's got a small cup. I don't know if you can see that cup.
Oh, you can now, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's cupped. So it pops. It's a slightly popping frog. It's a kind of a finesse popping frog. They make another one that's got more of a pronounced cup on the front, but it spits a little bit, and the angle of the head, it walks like effortlessly. I mean,
I was going to say, I bet it looks like with the angle of the head, you could get two different actions, whether you got rod up or rod down.
Yeah, you can pop it, and it does spit, but it's not like a Spro bronze-eye popping frog where it really
right.
It's more of a finesse type of spray. But the body collapses.
Yes.
Because you're getting a lot of fish. The sucker collapses out of the way, and the hook gets in them. He's got a bunch of pretty cool colors. The Dirty Rat, I think it's called Dirty Rat. It's more of a brown black. That's been one of my favorites. And of course, he's got white, he's got black, but this is called. Well, I don't have it in the right one. He's got a Papa Smurf, which is a purple one. I'm not really sure what he calls it. Some kind of shad color. But they're good frogs, man. They're really, really good frogs. And then he started making this right here, which is called the Snatch and Shad. So it's a lipless. It's a different. I'll pull it out. It's a 2 5/8 inches, and it's a 1/2 ounce bait. But I know he was designing this for quite a while before he finally got it right. And this frog is not I asked him a lot of questions about this frog. It's not like a Chinese made frog that is sent over and he just puts copper red baits on it and sells it like it's his. This is a frog that he designed.
I've never seen anything look like that, so I would.
Yeah, it's similar to there's a few frogs that look similar to it, but when you get it in your hand, it's not the same frog. It's different. But there's a lot of people that are just like buying generic frogs and then marketing under their own name. That's not what this is.
There's a lot of that.
It's a legitimate product and stuff. And so is this lipless that he made. But so it's got a really blunt nose. It's a little bit different. When you're holding it, it's thinner. It's got a thin profile, and it's got a different action in the water. It's not really high pitched like a rattle trap. It's not a thumper. It's kind of it's like an in-between sound chamber. This color right here.
Sounds like it's got a lot of beads in it.
It's a cool little bait, man. I don't fish a lipless as much as I should.
I used to fish it all the time, man. Me and Dave Holm were talking about that. The days we used to have at Mark Twain, because you can just fan cast freaking flooded timber with one of those things.
Yeah.
Everybody uses them in grass, which is great too, but man, you can cover so much water and flooded timber with one of those things. This
is called Pro Olive. So this is in clear water. This is a killer color in clear water. But like I said, I fish a lipless a little bit, but I'm not like a lipless guy. When that time of the year comes around, I'm typically throwing like chatterbait and swim jig. But I've thrown a lipless enough to know what they look like. And this has a little bit different action than the other stuff that I have in my box. It's different than a red eye shad. It's different than a Bill Lewis rattle trap. The LBS, the Lucky Craft stuff.
It looks like it's somewhere between like a Yorzuri and a Spro.
Yeah, you're right.
Combination of those two.
You're right.
But the front of it's definitely different than
It's different. It just glides. It's a more finesse. It glides through the water a little bit different. Because I had several lipless baits out. It was probably like a month and a half ago. And I was just kind of playing around with them, trying different ones on and looking at the different actions and stuff. And then this color is called Sexy Chrome. So it's kind of your chrome sexy shad in the Strike King line.
Yeah.
That kind of color. It's got a little bit of chartreuse or that like chartreuse down the middle of it.
Yeah. Looks like it's got some quality hooks on it too.
They're sharp. They're very, very sharp. I don't know what brand they are, but
that's the worst thing about buying some baits is you buy them, and if you want to use them in a tournament, you probably got to put some decent hooks on them.
Yeah, you pay $14 or $15 for a bait, and then you got to spend another $3 for hooks and split ring. Yeah, no.
Companies are getting better about that. I haven't dug into my hook box in as long as I carry around 2 Rubbermaid shoe boxes full of treble hooks for that reason. But anymore, they're pretty good out of the box until you bend one or jack it up.
Yeah, the Teckle. That's one of them. Teckle. It's similar to that. It is similar to that, but it's slightly different. I've got some of those too. Anyway, Copper Red Baits. Go check him out. Good dude, man. He's making some good stuff. I just thought I'd throw a couple of those oddball.
So that's 2 separate guys.
Yeah, two separate guys.
Nice.
I can't remember where he's out of, Pepper Baits, but he's got the really good frogs going. He's got a couple different styles of the frog, and then he's got this.
Just find him online to get him, or is he carrying them in tackle stores yet?
He actually has a website, and you can reach him on Facebook too.
I'm going to be reaching out to both of these guys if they're listening to see if you want to carry your tackle in Bluff City Outdoors, because Mark likes to support small local guys here. And, you know, he's got your Lucky Craft and your Strike King and your Mega Bass, but he also likes to carry stuff that the guys that are trying to get their foot in the door / you know, you just can't go to the big box store and buy. He likes to be that. We always joke that Bluff City's it's the barbershop of tackle stores. You can go in there and everybody knows what they're talking about, and you can hang out in there and shoot the crap, and people aren't trying to feed you a bunch of crap.
Yeah, I'm the same way, Jay. I mean, I do break them out every year, and I do throw them around, but I don't marry them. I don't commit to them like I should. It's kind of like the glide bait. I brought up the trick shad, you know, the Booker brand trick shad.
Mm-hmm.
And it's that time of year where you can start throwing a glide bait. And this is like the perfect size glide bait to just get some confidence. It's only 6 inches. It's not like a giant bait, but I don't throw a glide bait around as much as I should. I need to. I got to where I'm throwing a chatterbait consistently now. I mean, you know, I throw a swim jig all the time. I throw a spinnerbait a lot. I throw a chatterbait a lot. That's kind of my grass baits. But there's definitely a time when you need to be throwing a rattle trap too, and I just don't do it enough.
Like I said before, you can just, whether it's flooded timber or wherever, man, you can cast it a mile and cover so much water with it. I like it in the fall because of that. You can cover so much water with it.
Yeah, no, this is a really good bait. The price point on this, I think it's like $37 glide bait, and it's this is the first glide bait that I've ever got confidence in, because I've had several pretty good days on it. I've caught some really big striper on it, so I know it holds up, like the hardware holds up. I mean, I've caught some 15, 17 pound striper on it. You know, with
the action on those things is crazy.
Yeah, it's a great glide bait for the price. I mean, I really think it's the best budget glide bait out there. And the colors, that's a good looking color, man.
Yeah,
they got a bunch of really good colors. They're like legit colors. You know, they spend a lot of time designing the colors on it. I don't think we'll see what color that is. No, this is matte shad. It's called matte shad, but they've got, like I said, they got a bunch of really cool colors. But if you're wanting to get into a glide bait for not break the bank type of glide bait, it's a good one. It's a lot better than like the S Waver and the Arashi Glide and some of those other ones. It's significantly better than those.
I don't mind the S Swimmer so much.
The S Waver?
Yeah, I think it's all right.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Is that the is it?
It's caught fish.
Bill or River to Sea? Which one is that?
That's the S Waver.
Yeah,
like the 168 and then the 190. Those are like the two most popular sizes. And you know, they're decent. They're decent bait for sure. Caught a lot of fish. But you know, that trick shad's, it's a pretty good one too. Yeah,
that was a hot ticket at the Let's Go Fishing show and a couple of Mark's shows. He sold a whole bunch of those.
The trick shads or the S Wave?
Yeah, the trick shads. Yeah.
They just released them last fall, and they were really hard to get there for a while. And that's when I got some last fall, but the water was already getting a little bit too cold. And I threw them around just to get a feel of them, but this late winter, when the water started getting up there around 52, 53, that's when I started kind of playing around with them again. And I've been taking it out with me.
Well, dude, now that I'm not fishing tournaments this year, just out there learning the forward-facing sonar, I look forward to going and doing stuff that I normally wouldn't do, and just fish a glide bait around those big docks. And even just to see what I could get to follow it out, and then maybe follow up with the jig or a wacky worm or something. But I'm experimenting so much, Gabe. I bought a spinning rod.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Nice, dude. Impressive.
Yeah.
You gonna start throwing a minnow around?
I'm gonna start throwing a minnow around. Probably more of a wacky rig guy to start with. But yeah.
Well, you need 2 or 3 spinning rods.
I know. I'll start with the one. And
start with one. Yeah.
What knot do you use to go from your braid to your fluoro? The Alberto knot? Is that what it's called?
use the Alberto.
Okay, yeah. That's what I thought. So, yeah,
that's where my buddy Ron, DeRosa, he was a guide on Mille Lacs, and he caught those 5-pound smallmouth all the time, and that's the knot he used for his.
Is it pretty simple? I'm looking for simple.
Super simple. There's video. I have a video on it. There's other videos out there, and next time we fish together, I'll show it to you.
Yeah, that's why I was hoping you'd go this weekend.
Yeah,
I'm gonna come down there to you the first chance we get. Me and you got to go either take my boat to Cedar or my boat to Egypt or whatever.
Yeah, I want to put you on some stripers.
Wow.
I want to put you on some stripers with the jig head minnow and with the glide bait.
Yeah, that sounds fun. Is that at Cedar?
Yeah, it's fun.
I'd like to do that. I mean, if you think it's better to take your boat so we can motor around, but
yeah, we'll go on my boat. It'd be funner. We can get around the lake a little more. I mean, or we could do Egypt too and take your boat.
Yeah, we could do a Friday Saturday thing or Saturday Sunday thing and go one day, one the next.
Yeah, I'm supposed to get my boat. I was supposed to get my boat Friday. I took all my stuff down there, like my my batteries and my graphs. I put them in the truck on that last Toyota series that I fished at Kentucky Lake. Went down there and went by Precision Sonar, and I bought all my graph mounts and stuff from Precision Sonar, and I bought the leash, and then I took all that down to ACS Marine in Paris because my boat came in like 3 weeks ago or something like that, and they were supposed to have it all done Friday, like 2 to 3, 4, 5 days ago, whatever that was, but right now is like their busy season. They've had stuff breaking down. They've just had an influx of business. For sure. And they haven't had a chance to get to it. So the tentative date is next Monday. So the 10th. Was it the 10th? The 5th. Can't remember.
So you're gonna take the day off on a Monday and go down there and get it, or?
Yeah. The 5th.
Man, if I wasn't so busy at work, I would take the day off and go with you. Hold the camera, but
yeah. So I'm hoping they can get it done. I'm gonna touch base with them probably Thursday and see how it's coming along. But what I'm getting at is I'll have a big boat too. So
I'll just throw a bunch of rods in the truck and
Stephanie's got a question about forward facing sonar and dirty water. Does not to change the subject. No, I'm glad you changed the subject. That's what this is all about. We're just kind of rambling.
It's not. I'm not an expert, Stephanie, but from what I seen at Cedar, it was really dirty, and I could still see my bait and everything just fine.
Yeah, you can still use it in dirty water for sure. You just have to make a few adjustments. You got to turn down your gain a little bit so you get decent clarity on your graph, and then you've got to be more accurate with your cast. The fish, their visibility, they're not going to move as far, most likely, to chase the bait, and they don't see as far in that stained water. So you got to just be even more accurate. I've heard guys like Brock Bila is really good with forward-facing sonar, and he's talked about fishing in dirty water with a minnow or something at fish, and he talks about how accurate you have to be. Instead of being like 4 feet above the fish, you got to be like a foot or 6 inches above the fish sometimes, and you got to be lined up right on them, or they won't come after it. So yeah, you can definitely still use it, and then that's just for your suspended jig head minnow. The thing
you can see your chatterbait and spinnerbait just fine.
Yeah, and
they can feel that going by, and they'll probably don't have to get that as close.
And it's not just something that I've been doing a lot more is incorporating forward-facing sonar into my traditional fishing styles, which is using it to cast at a stump or a grass line or a lay down. So in that scenario, it really doesn't matter what the watercolor is. You can still see that target that you're casting at. Yeah. And that's really the biggest advantage of forward facing sonar, is just being able to cast accurately to your targets.
Yeah, man. Like being able to see where a lay down ends and make your first cast on the very end of it.
Yeah. Pollen.
Yeah.
Curtis, you gotta up your game, brother.
I own more than one, Curtis. I just bought a new one, but I bought a good one. I had a couple older ones, but yeah. I figured if I'm going to get the forward facing sonar, I'm going to need something. And I've watched Gabe catch too many fish on it. I know it catches fish. It's just, I like that bait caster in my hand.
Yeah, I had some of that original sinking. They came out with a sinking braid like, it was like 8, 9, 10 years ago. It was a long time ago. I can't remember who it might have been like a spider wire or something. I can't remember, but I had it on my reel and I liked it.
It's either them or Suffolk's, one of the two, I think.
Yeah. But they were the only company that had it there for a while, and it went away. But I had some of it and I liked it. I mean, it was great. So hey, back to forward facing sonar.
Yes.
You're new to the forward facing sonar game. You got to go out and experience it a 3-4 weeks ago or something on Lake of the Ozarks. You took 3 days off. So tell me about it, man? I mean, you've talked about it before, but not on here. So how
okay, well, it was amazing. For starters, I was infatuated by it. Like I found myself like, holy cow. Now I see what all the fuss is about. But I was still learning, like when I was looking at dock floats. Oh, that's a dock float. I can see the pole. I can line up a cast, get it by it. And I fished, granted, the first day out, it was super windy. So I was kind of tucked back behind some commercial docks. And I don't know if I was looking at turtles or what I was looking at, but I was casting at them, had a few followers. Long story short, I went about 4 hours without a bite. And I thought to myself, it's after I talked to you. I went another couple hours and I'm like, you would have never fished in one area 4 hours without a bite. You're just infatuated with this thing. So I pulled the trolling motor up and ran 4 or 5 miles down the lake, pulled into a place, grabbed a drink, and just started idling, looking with side scan. I seen some brush, area I'd never been in, seen some brush, seen some bait, seen what I thought was a couple fish. Kept idling, did my thing, turned around, dropped the trolling motor, seen a brush pile, casted at it with a jerk bait, brought the jerk bait over, and I seen a fish come out and look at it, kind of followed it, didn't take it, turned around. But now that fish was out of the brush pile a little bit, and I threw the jerk bait back at it, twitched it a few times, it creeped up on it, twitched it a couple times, it creeped up on it. I remember what you said, and I just pulled it straight. It followed it, got right on it. Next thing I know, Gabe, a fish that I never seen off the bottom just came up and blasted it. It was like a 4. So my first fish on forward facing sonar was about a 4-pounder that I didn't see on forward facing sonar. It was stuck to the bottom next to the brush pile. But as that other fish got closer, which I'm guessing was probably a smaller fish, it was like, well, if anybody's eating that, it's me. And he just come off the bottom out of nowhere and slammed it. And then I proceeded to catch like 7 or 8 fish within the next hour, 5 or 6 of which were keepers. And it was because I was looking at them, catching them, but it was because I moved to an area where there was fish. I was fishing around where there probably really wasn't fish, just kind of in awe at watching my bait, hitting brush piles. And, I learned that a lot of fish will follow it and not take it, and I don't know if those are crappie or what they are. I'm not good enough at that point to know the size of them or what it is. I do know when it's a bait ball and you bring it through and then you see them all scattered,
Yeah.
Then that's definitely a bait ball. But it was amazing that once I figured it out and just went back to using the other knowledge that I had, like you've been fishing steeper banks for 4 hours, you haven't caught anything, go find some shallower banks in a different area and idle it first and know if there's anything there and then come back and fish it. And sure enough, using that in conjunction with the forward facing sonar, that 4 or 5 hour stretch there, I was just catching them pretty dang good. And like, that gave me a lot of confidence in it. But I do realize too, like, you got to know when to put it down. Like when I went to Egypt with Dave, I was just using it to see where the grass line was and just flipping that D-bomb out there or the tube or the chatterbait and not really using it to watch my bait, just seeing where the structure was and throwing at it.
Right.
We went in the way in the back where it flattened off to about 3 foot deep everywhere. There were some lay downs back there. I set the talons down and just started shining it around. Oh, there's a lay down over there. Cast to it with a chatterbait and ended up catching several big ones back there and several decent ones just with the talons down, looking around with the forward facing sonar. Oh, there's a lone, what looks like to me, a lone clump of grass. Just throw past it and both sides of it and may catch a fish, may not. I didn't necessarily see the fish, but I seen the structure where they were. So kind of like you were saying earlier, kind of a combination of old and new technology at the same time. I mean, many a times I'd have went back and put my talons down and just fan casted, but now my fan casts are more precise. You know, I'm seeing what the heck I'm casting at. So it's amazing. And the whole reason I took the year off to just do this, because I knew I need to recharge the batteries anyway. Like, it's been so refreshing to just go fishing and not have the pressure of, I got a tournament on Saturday. Just, I'm going to go back and just go fishing and learn this technology and then come back next year with, I just don't think you can, or I can't practice for a tournament and learn forward facing at the sonar at the same time. So to me, I just figured, you know what, it would be a good reset to just go fishing, call up old friends, take them fishing, learn the forward facing sonar. I'm still fishing a few tournaments here, you know. Well, I just know serious. I'm going to fish some charity stuff.
See, we have full-time jobs. If we were younger without those life responsibilities and we were able to go fishing 5 days a week or 6 days a week, then you could, you know, you could learn and do the other things.
Right. But I'm just taking off those 3 or 4 days leading up to the tournament. And I want to practice for the tournament, not forward facing sonar.
Yeah, we just get, you know, we're not out there all the time. So we got to kind of do one or the other. I agree with you. I mean, I
kind of forgot what it was like to go fishing. I do miss the tournament. Don't get me wrong, but I'm going to fish enough charity, the Warrior William, other stuff. I'm going down this weekend just to help Greg practice. You know, I'm leaving tomorrow night. He's got a tournament with Jeff. They're fishing the Roofers Mart. I'm just going to go down there and eliminate some water for him, you know, and go at my own pace, and be learning forward facing sonar at the same time. And
yeah,
I'm going to go fish a whole bunch of water at Lake of the Ozarks I've never seen. That's the plan. Not try to fish any history because I don't have to worry about if I'm going to have to catch them on Saturday or not. I don't really care. And you know what's going to happen? I'll probably catch them really good and wish I had a tournament on Saturday. But so be it. If I wanted to, I'm sure there's one I could get in. I could jump in one down there somewhere. But
I was listening to Wesley Strader today, and he was on Luke Duncan. And he had a pretty interesting take on the forward-facing sonar deal, because he's been fishing tournaments for, I think, 27 years. I was
going to say right. Close to 30, probably.
Yeah, it's been a long time. So he's seen an evolution, and you know, he's a power fishing type of dude for the most part, but he's spent a lot of time working on the forward-facing sonar stuff, and he, you know, he said he really enjoys it because obviously it's fun, like Stephanie's saying.
Yeah.
It's fun to see fish interacting in their environment with all the things around them. It's just neat because you don't, up until then, you're like, I wonder what's really going on underneath the water. It's like this big mystery. But when you can actually see and look around, you learn a bunch. It's pretty cool. But he said, I'm not afraid to say it. You know, I liked catching fish, looking at them. He said, I already know how to do the power fishing stuff. I already know how to catch them flipping a jig.
Yeah. It's like starting over again.
Yeah. He's like, I don't need to practice that anymore. I already know how to do that. I'm enjoying practicing something. I'm learning a new technique, a new way to catch them, and it's kind of refreshing, you know.
Yes, I could not agree with him more.
And that's how I feel about it too. Is it's just a different way to do what you love, and it's super.
If you go into it with a negative attitude, it's just you're gonna have negative results.
Yeah, you're just always trying to keep learning when you're passionate about something, and we should always be, in my opinion, we should be moving forward, and it's fun. It's actually really fun to go out there. Now, it's as fun as catching them all the other different ways you can catch them. It's just a different way of catching them, in my opinion.
It's like those things hanging up behind me. You can spend a lifetime messing with them.
Oh, the guitar. Yeah, exactly.
You're never going to perfect it, but you can have a hell of a time trying. You know.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Same way with this. I mean, it's great. I love it. It's like I'm kind of lit a fire under me to get that tool in the toolbox, you know, to really figure it out. And you're never going to figure it out to its fullest potential, probably. I don't know. I mean, because like you said, we have full-time jobs. I'm not on the water 300 days a year.
No.
So, but you sure can make the most of the time you got, and then have conversations with your buddies on the phone, or like we're having now, or like I had with you the first day on the water. Just, hey, what? I never heard. I hadn't even researched it that much, Gabe. I never heard of the Garmin Ghost Tree. I had no idea. I kept thinking, why is there always a brush pile or something like right in front of you?
Yeah.
And you and Jay both. He texted me back shortly after you said that. He just texted back Ghost Tree, and I was like, oh, well, both of them say it. I guess it's a thing. It
looks like a praying mantis, like a vertical.
Yeah, it kind of does
or something.
It kind of does, but yeah, man, it's opened up a whole new deal. Like watching the amount of fish. Like if I seen something that I thought was a fish out there, and I cast it past it with a jig, and I would just swim it over and drop it and watch it follow it to the bottom. You know, and I don't know if it was a carp or a bluegill or what it was following it, but something was definitely following it to the bottom. And then you'd hop it and they'd find them, and sometimes they just swim off or whatever. But how many times was that happening that you didn't know it, you know?
Yeah, a lot.
So a lot.
And then there's a lot of times where you're in an area and you're not getting bit, and you think you're just throwing the wrong bait or you're not working it right. Well, and I think you found this out too. Well, you're looking around with that forward-facing sonar, and like there ain't no fish there. There's just not very many fish there, and that's why you're not getting bites, because you're not around the fish.
Right. And I kept fishing with the forward-facing sonar instead of, maybe there was fish if I was skipping back up under docks and stuff that I couldn't see with the forward-facing sonar, but that wasn't what I was doing at the time. I'm trying to learn this. So you got to be somewhere where that's effective. Had I just turned it off and went to skipping those commercial docks, I probably would have caught a couple of fish, but that's not what I was doing.
You already know how to do that.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I already know how to do that.
You dialed in on that, man. You've been doing that for years.
So yeah, spend the time to do the other thing. It's kind of like when side scan first came out. I spent the first 2 days with it without ever taking a rod out, just idling around looking at stuff.
Yeah.
Marking stuff. I'd mark stuff off to the side, and then I'd put a waypoint on it, and I'd drive back over it with down imaging and see what it looked like there, you know, just learning how that thing worked. You know, I mean, you can buy it, but that doesn't get you there. It's kind of like golf clubs. You can go buy really nice golf clubs, but if you don't go to the range and play, they ain't going to help you that much, you know?
Yeah. There's a lot of little subtleties to forward-facing sonar that you kind of progress through. And I'm super rookie at it too, but there's things that I've learned over the last year that I certainly didn't know, you know, the first year that I had it. Just a lot of it is how tight fish stick to the bottom. And you'll start noticing this, Mike, the more you start using it. You'll see the bottom moving a little bit. Like there's a little squiggly on the bottom that's just really tight to the bottom that's moving. And it'll stop, and it'll just look like a little bump, like just a little wart down there. And you just kind of keep watching it, and then all of a sudden you'll see it kind of move a little bit. It's a fish just hugging real tight to the bottom. That goes on a lot, and you can catch those fish too. You can
absolutely.
you can flip your jig right up on top of them, and they will bite sometimes. Not always, but nothing bites every time. But that's a whole nother strategy is being able to pick up those fish that are holding really, really tight to the bottom. And that's the fish you can't see with your side scan. Like you can go down through an area and side scan, and
they have to be up high enough to leave a shadow. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you're going to pick up on, so next, as you start doing this more, go into a cove that you have a lot of experience in. You feel like you know where the main brush piles are and the little pieces of cover, and idle through it with your side scan. Find everything you think you can in there, and then go put your forward facing sonar down, and you'll find a bunch of stuff that you couldn't see with your side scan with that forward facing sonar. So any little stump that's only sitting up like maybe a foot off the bottom at 80 feet out, it doesn't really jump up that much. I mean, you got to be pretty damn good with your side scan.
I'm guessing you can probably see like the bucket or the cinder block that's holding that brush pile down.
You can see that stuff, but you're missing a lot of stuff with even a really good side scan. Somebody, take some of the best guys that with side scan, Jason Lambert, or those Tennessee, the CVA guys. You still miss a bunch of stuff with side scan. And I know this from fishing Cedar all the time. There's areas of the lake where I've scanned the crap out of it. And other than a crappie fisherman putting a new brush pile, which is very obvious, it sticks way up off the ground.
Yeah.
I feel like I know just about everything that's in a certain cove. Well, that's not the case. There's stuff in there, and it's not new stuff. It's stuff that's just really short, that until I started fishing with forward facing sonar and looking around, like you're just fishing down the bank and you spin your head of your trolling motor out and you're like, there's a stump. Where did that stump come from? It's a stump. It didn't just automatically grow. Nobody drops stumps. They plant brush piles. They don't plant stumps. It's been there since the lake was impounded. And I've side scanned this bank, 30 times or something over the course of 15 years. I've never seen it, but it's been there the whole time. And you'll start seeing all kinds of little things that you didn't know were there. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was saying about, you can find the brush pile with the side scan, but you won't see the cinder block or the bucket that's holding it down until you hit it with the forward facing sonar, and you can say, oh. So you can almost treat them like two different entities. Sometimes you'll see where the brush pile's off to the side, kind of laid over. There's nothing wrong with fishing this. Don't hit the brush pile, hit this side of the bucket or the cinder block. There's a good chance there might be one laying up tight enough to that you can't see it. So, I mean, if I was a bass, that's where I would lay. It's probably right up against the bucket or the cinder block under the brush pile. So knowing right where that spot is versus hitting the middle of the brush pile and then getting hung up in that and spooking the fish, you can target right where you think the best spot for that fish to be setting. I can't wait to get better at it. I mean, it's amazing. It really is.
Well, you got the right mindset. You're focusing on learning that technique this year, and that's the way to go. I mean, it's gonna pay dividends for you for sure. You're gonna learn a lot.
I think so. Well, I just stopped and did the math. Not the math because I give a crap about the money, but I was consistently in the check line for years at Lake of the Ozarks and the Ozarks lakes. And then in the last 3 or 4 years, I've cashed a couple of checks, and I'm thinking, why do you just keep beating your head against the wall, letting these guys beat you with forward-facing sonar, these younger guys? When you're a good enough fisherman, if you go out there and put that tool in your toolbox, you can go back to doing what you were doing and cashing checks and competing on a more regular basis. It's like, don't fight it, just go do it. I mean, it's just another tool, and
I don't care what anybody says. I think I did a video about this, and it's been something that it's been a question I've thrown out to a couple of the guests in the past, but to me, and I don't want to sound like I don't care, but I firmly believe that the shallow fish are significantly smarter than they used to be because of forward-facing sonar. I think it's harder to go down the bank and catch fish as well as you used to be able to like 4 years ago, because those fish that are sitting out there in the middle of the coves are being hounded all year long, where before forward-facing sonar, they pulled off the bank, they didn't get hardly any pressure. I mean, they really didn't get hardly any pressure. And then when
that
they
early
pulled
pre-spawn stuff,
when they pulled in pre-spawn and started getting in those early pre-spawn locations, and they started getting shallower and shallower, they were still kind of green. You know, they weren't like super skittish, and you could catch a lot more of those fish. But they're getting picked off halfway from way out in the middle
to the entire cycle,
cycle, and they're just seeing boats all the time. They're seeing lures all the time. So I really firmly believe. Now, can you still catch them? Yeah, 100%. Right now is the time to do it. And there's still guys like John Cox that's a master at shallow water fishing, but there's not as many of those guys anymore, which that's forcing those guys to learn this technology, because there's been this theory that you're going to have all these guys out floating around in the middle of the lake, and that's going to open up the banks for people. The shallow fishing is going to get better because nobody's chasing those shallow fish. It's not happening. And that's why those guys, the power fishermen that are used to being able to just grind it out and catch, make the day 3 cut in the elite series, they're struggling. They're being forced to learn how to catch those fish off the bank a little bit and get out of their comfort zone, because I don't think that's there anymore. That's just my opinion. I don't know how you feel about it, but I
feel the same. I feel the same way. But I do feel like there's still a percentage of fish that live shallow that don't ever really get out, that are still.
I think they're smarter though. I think they're
probably smarter. They're probably smarter. But I liken it. I've said it on the radio show. I liken it to when mapping first came out. That made it so much easier to go fish offshore with a good contour map. Yeah. And the combination of that and down imaging, where you could go set right on a channel, a channel swing offshore. Like you could put yourself right on that bend and cast, right over that bend where fish might suspend over the creek channel. And that used to be really hard to do with a paper map and just trying to triangulate between some, or throwing a buoy out, idling over it and throwing a buoy out. I think the forward-facing sonar it's probably 2x what that was, but it wasn't like mapping wasn't a big deal for offshore fishing. It made offshore fishing a heck of a lot easier.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, there's guys that used to go out bass fishing without even a really good paper map to know what they were looking at, or the ability to read it.
Yeah. You talk to any of them old school guys, like we've had Menendez on here, Ed Geddes, who's a Kentucky Lake Pickwick legend. You talk to any of those guys, the guys that had the paper maps and the 2D sonars, and they would go out and triangulate out, they'd be way out. And they were like the forefathers of like deep cranking and stuff. You talk to those guys, the worst thing to come along in fishing was GPS and actual graphs.
Right.
All that stuff that they had to themselves, all that stuff that they spent years and years to find. They took a paperweight on a rope, and they wrote down, okay, it's 10 feet right here. And then they'd go out a little bit further, drop it down. It was 12 feet, and they found the drop off. They did all that stuff with an actual, weight on a rope. And then hours and hours and hours. As soon as that good mapping came out and GPS, everybody could find that stuff.
The learning curve was over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was.
I'm old enough to, when I used to first started fishing at Lake of the Ozarks, I still have it. I had a Lowrance handheld GPS and a paper map in my lap, like riding around trying to find stuff that was on the map with that GPS that I'd marked on the map, setting at the house, and then go out with that GPS and try to find. I mean, Dave, that screen was smaller than my cell phone on that Lowrance handheld GPS, black and white, no contours on it, just a map. But trying to match that up with the USGS map that I had taken that had the contours before before they put water at Lake of the Ozarks. It's the old USGS contour maps, and try to find, the creek channel's got to be on the left side of this cove going in, and just idling through there with that thing. And you're looking at your graph, looking at that, looking at the map, trying to find where that stuff was. And occasionally throw a marker buoy overboard and turn around and come back and put the trolling motor and start casting at it.
Trying to line up with a point, it swings in across from this point or something. You're trying to.
If I'm sitting right here, even with that house over there, casting at that flagpole on that house, I should be able to hit that.
Yeah. I had all the fishing the hot spots maps, and they had like 10-foot contours. Like Cedar was like 10 foot, 20 foot, and 30 foot. That's all you got. You have no idea.
I was going to ask you that too. How is there mapping at Cedar in Egypt? Because it didn't come up on mine. I couldn't get any contour maps.
Well, you got Humminbird, right?
Yeah.
I have. It's on Lowrance.
Maybe there's something wrong with my units because I couldn't get any of the maps to come up at either one of those lakes.
Huh.
On the Lake Master maps.
Yeah, it must be in the Navionics that has it, because that's what I have. I have like this. I have the C maps, and there's a pretty good map for that. Kincaid's got pretty good map too.
I'm wondering if I have the Central Plains, which includes Illinois, on the Humminbird, but maybe I needed the East Central or something I don't know. I don't think they match up.
Yeah, Curtis has Humminbird. He said no maps at Cedar on Humminbird.
Okay.
So it's a Lowrance still. It must be just Navionics or C maps, because the maps that I have are pretty good.
Well, I might have to buy the Navionics chip then for down there, because that'll work in my Humminbird. I can put a Navionics chip in the Humminbird. So
yeah. Well, hey, Tom's got this comment, and I know you've been a boat captain. And we kind of, one of the topics was, what does fishing mean to you? So he says, fishing means something different to me this weekend. I will be a boat captain for a high school team for the first time. And then right here he has, I hope I can put them on some fish. They're both pretty new to fishing. How much forward-facing sonar should I show them? So you did that for a little while.
3 years.
Yeah. So what's your thoughts on that? Somebody that's kind of just getting into
it. Well, that wasn't a technology when I was doing it, or I didn't have it. It was very, very, very new. I think you're better off to teaching the basics of how to go find where fish should be.
Mm-hmm.
And use that minimally, or else you're getting desperate and you want to go out and fish some bridge columns or wave breaks or something. I think you still need to know the basics of what areas you need to be fishing in.
Yep.
That's what I would teach.
Right now's a good time. The spring is a good time to
Right now, you probably most lakes in our area, I would think you got fish in all three spaces.
100%.
Pre-spawn, post-spawn, and on the beds. So it's perfect time to. I like to concentrate on those pre and post where they're coming and going. Splitter points. Last channel swing before spawning flats, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's what I would teach them, is the migrational patterns where these fish are going to be, looking for hard spots between the main lake and the spawning flats. At Lake of the Ozarks, that would be like where chunk rock meets, pea gravel, things like that on channel swings.
Yeah, because you can show them how to catch fish on forward-facing sonar, and that's so popular right now, whether it be college, high school. I mean, there's a lot of kids, and I think Stephanie's mentioned this before, but there's a lot of kids that feel like it's not even worth fishing if they don't have that on their boat.
That's not true at all.
I think you should, definitely introduce them to that technology,
Yep.
But try to explain why they're finding fish with that technology in those certain areas. That's more important. Any of the
big picture. Yeah.
Big picture. Yeah. Any of these guys, and we've learned this by having them on this channel, on these live streams, and talking to them. Any of these guys that are really good with that technology, the reason they're good with it is because they can find fish. Mm-hmm. You have to know where the fish are at, and that's like general stuff that we all need to know first. So I think that's the path, is teaching these kids how to locate fish and why they're in the certain locations. And then once you get that dialed in, you can run to different parts of the lake and then drop your trolling motor down and you know,
use your
find them.
forward-facing sonar.
You know,
Yeah,
but you got to know where they're at first.
I wish
you're going to stumble across some fish if you just dump your boat in, and if you're in a creek like we were talking about Cedar, that creek has everything you could possibly want. There's always fish in that area. So it can almost be a bad learning experience because you can assume that's all you have to do. Well, there's a lot of lakes where you dump in and you're not in a really prime area of the lake. That might not be there. There'll be some fish there, but there's a lot more fish in other places. So you need to learn how to leave that boat ramp, get on your big motor, and look at your map and figure out where those fish are at and where they're going and why they're there, and then capture them with the technology.
I wish JB was on here. I'd love his opinion on this. All my years of coaching sports, especially baseball, to Tom's point, I didn't do a lot of coaching during games. I did a lot of encouraging during games, but learning something like forward-facing sonar, much like what I'm doing, needs to be done at your practice, not during the tournament or practicing for the tournament. That's a skill you need to work on. You need to concentrate on figuring out how to catch fish on the tournament and not how to use forward-facing sonar. I wouldn't go out. If I went out to talk to a pitcher, I'm not talking to him about technique necessarily. We'll talk about that at the next practice. If I see something obvious he's doing wrong, I'll say something. But other than that, it's more of encouraging and just there's a reason they call it practice. They use that time to practice. And when it's game time, you're just doing your best to do the best you can possibly do that day. I'm not going to try to change a kid's swing in the fourth inning of a baseball game. We'll work on that. But I'm going to go up, talk about the basics. Eye on the ball, concentrate. When I was a baseball player, Gabe, when I was struggling at the plate, I would watch the ball like this from the catcher to the pitcher, from his right hand to his left hand, to when he broke it apart. I just staring at that ball the entire time, just focusing on the ball, and then try to pick up the rotation as it came to you. And I find the same thing with fishing. Like when I make a cast, I know what I cast it at. And then I know I want to cast over here just a little, making sure I don't miss anything, remembering where you cast. And if you don't remember where you cast when you get a bite, well, you're not really sure. Was that fish 5 feet off the bank or, 10 feet off the bank? You got to pay attention to that kind of stuff to put the puzzle together. And during the tournament is not the time to be coaching necessarily. That needs to happen the couple nights before when you're doing map study and that sort of talking about that stuff. Now, granted, if it's obvious that you see what you think is a 5-pounder on your forward-facing sonar and you're in a tournament, you probably ought to try to catch it. But I wouldn't spend a whole lot of time on that. These kids are young. You need to teach them how to find fish and how to keep their head down and how to grind. That's the most important part about this game is keeping your head in the game the entire time. It can happen really fast. It can also be super humbling. You're going to get your teeth kicked in more times than you win. Rush your Trey McKinney or KVD at his prime, But even those guys, what's the KVD stat, Gabe? It's something like out of all the tournaments he entered, he only won like 11% of the time or something.
Yeah, it's probably less than that now. It's
probably less than that. Yeah. But yeah, when he was at his height, it was still low double digits percentage wise. Right. So it's keeping your head up and knowing that each day it's better to learn something, right or wrong, every time out. I've learned way more from losses than I ever had from wins in fishing, hockey, whatever it was, baseball. You can learn way more from a loss than you do a win, So it's coaching is coaching for a reason. You're trying to teach. You're a teacher, So just concentrate on. I wish I could do it again. I'd love to find another couple of kids that wanted to be. I was lucky. I was doing 2 kids that were being private schooled. Their parents reached out to me or homeschooled. So it was a perfect situation. If you're a fisherman, I highly recommend you should get out there and captain, because you got a wealth of knowledge. You need to dump it on somebody. If you're like me, where your kids don't really have that much of an interest, you might as well dump it on somebody. Yeah, average 300 definitely gets you in the Hall of Fame. Also get you paid, John. But yeah, I mean, it's an absolute, I've said it before, probably even said it on here. Coaching fishing is like teaching someone the guitar, or they ask you questions and you don't remember why you do it. You just do it because you've been doing it so long. But that it makes you a better guitar player or fisherman, because you're thinking back to yourself, oh, why do I do that? So you have to stop and think why you do it and explain it, and it makes you better because of it. And you might pop a new nugget in your brain or something. You could branch off from that and do something, a little tweak here or there to what you've just been doing mundanely for years and years and years. So yeah, it's a great experience for both the coach and the kids you're coaching. It's an amazing. I miss coaching baseball. I miss coaching football, but I wasn't near as good at either one of those as I was at fishing. So I really miss coaching fishing. And I'm still in contact with both those kids and their parents and their grandparents. You know, so it's a great experience. So do as much of it as you can. I recommend it for everybody. I mean,
yeah, Tim's
great.
His statement is that's irrelevant if the organizations let them use it. You got to use it in tournaments to be successful in the early spring. There's, I mean, Tim, there may be some truth to that. I think
some truth in everything, but yeah,
there's truth in everything. There's a lot of information you can get online. Let's just say if there's a big high school tournament on Kentucky Lake. I mean, there's Bassmaster Opens, Bassmaster Invitationals, there's Toyota Series, and there's BFLs that have all fished Kentucky Lake post carp infestation, like within the last couple of years, since the smallmouth fishing has gotten better. There's a lot of YouTube videos from Kentucky Lake. So you can do research just by watching YouTube and try to figure out locations. Some locations will be obvious, like the mouth of Jonathan Creek, or out in front of Moores, or out in front of the dam, the ledges and stuff. Some will not be so obvious. I know the times that I fished with guys, there were a couple places they didn't want me to show on my YouTube videos, because they're places that they spent hundreds of hours of idling up and down the ledges to find these little small patches of stumps. You know,
stumps or shell beds or whatever. Yeah,
they put in the time, which is also kind of what Mike and I were talking about, of learning fish locations. Some of that you do learn by just putting the time and the discipline in, and it's not just jumping your trolling motor in. But what I'm getting at is it is possible, back to what Tim was saying about it being irrelevant, it is possible to just watch YouTube videos, find out that in May you can go to the mouth of Jonathan Creek or Blood River or Big Sandy and catch fish because you saw these pros or these invitational fishermen, these EQ open anglers doing that on YouTube. So you could literally, without knowing a whole lot about the lake, you could dump your boat in as a high school angler, run to that spot, and then put your forward facing sonar down and just cruise around and catch fish. That may work. Okay. But that's not going to work everywhere. You're going to have to figure out how to find fish on some of those other lakes that aren't as publicized, that aren't, there's not quite as many tournaments. There may not be as much YouTube footage. When you go to one of those lakes, you're going to be screwed. You're going to be in trouble. You still may be able to finish in the top, 60% or something, but you're probably not going to be in the top 20%. So the way you get over that hump, it's just like buying waypoints. You know, for years, there's people that have bought waypoints. Yeah, you're going to look good for that tournament, but did you learn why those fish were there? You're just fishing a waypoint. You really didn't get anything out of it as far as something you can take. Maybe you did, but there's a chance that if you're just fishing that waypoint, you're not gaining any kind of knowledge that you can take forward into the next lake that you fish,
right?
Because you didn't take the time to find that stuff on your own. So yeah, I think there is some truth to that, Tim. But there's also, if we're looking long range, if you're a high school angler and you have aspirations to become a bass open angler, an invitational angler, if you're trying to step up your game and move on to the next level, you're going to hit a wall. If all you're doing is using forward-facing sonar to get you through high school and college, you're going to hit a wall if you're just leaning on that. At some point, you're going to need to know the basics and the fundamentals of fishing. You're going to need to know seasonal patterns, how to locate the fish, all the things that we talk about, all that old school stuff. You're going to need to learn that, or you're not going to go. There's going to be a wall that you hit, and you're not going to be.
Yeah.
It's just like if you're a guitar player, at some point you're going to have to know what chords are in every key, what notes are in every key. You can fake it, and you can play some good music. I know some. I mean, I don't know all that stuff. You know, a lot of people don't. Stan doesn't know all that stuff. I mean, he doesn't know music theory,
Right?
And you can be fine, but there's going to be a point where you're not going to be a jazz musician. You're not going to be a bluegrass musician, like an elite level bluegrass musician.
You're not going to be Marcus King.
You want to go so far, you're going to hit a wall. And if you're wanting to go past that wall, you got to learn what it takes to get over that wall, or you're just going to fade out. And that, I'm not saying that's right or wrong. It's just, I think that there's some truth to that.
Well, to your point, Gabe, that the hippie side of this redneck would say that it feels so much better knowing how to find fish and then catching them than it does somebody giving you a little blue dot and then going and catching them. It's just more rewarding on a holistic side of things, which feeds the fire to keep figuring out the puzzle. And I wasn't saying don't use forward facing sonar. I'm saying don't use it yet if you're not proficient at it. Like learn it in the coaching much like what I'm trying to do. Learn it in the practice and then use it as you become more proficient at it. Use it with the knowledge of knowing where to look for fish. You know, don't try to use it strictly right out of the box. Like I had a guy I work with, an engineer, smart dude. He's not even really a fisherman or anything, but he was talking about forward facing sonar, like, oh, it's cheating. I can't believe. And I'm like, dude, let me tell you what, I'll give you 2 forward facing units, 1 in perspective mode and 1 in forward facing up front, all the electronics you want. I'll take everything off of my boat. I won't even turn my stuff on. And we'll go fish against each other. And I'm going to hand you your ass. Like, because you don't know where to go look for fish. It's not magic. It is not magic, that forward facing sonar. Like I said, I know how to catch fish, and I spent 4 hours the first day out just staring at that thing and not catching any fish until I went back and molded the two together, and then I caught fish. So you need that foundation for anything, you know.
Yeah, like Tim's saying here, fundamentals are important, but forward-facing sonar is important. Just look at Randy Blockett. Well, that's one of the deals with.
Yeah, but I'm still going to use it. Unlike Randy, I'm just going to use it with my base. If Randy would embrace it, he'd be right back where he was.
I don't think he would be.
Really?
I don't think he would be. Because he doesn't put in the amount of time that these guys that are kicking his butt do. He doesn't have the time.
That's what I'm saying, though. If he would take the time to do that, like, take a year off, do what I'm doing, figure it out.
Yeah, that would get him closer. That would get him closer. But I think it's.
But if you don't have the right mindset, it's never going to work.
Yeah, 100%.
I think he's just made his brand off of fighting it.
Yeah, and I'm not even talking about just
I'm
him in
not.
particular. I'm talking
No, I'm
about.
not either. Randy's a decent person. I'm not even saying that. I'm just saying.
I don't know about that. I wouldn't go that far, but
I
but I
like to
mean,
give
some of the elite anglers, like the veterans that have been struggling the last couple years.
Then shut your mouth and go fish the NPFL.
Yeah, well, they just don't have the time. They have family obligations. They have sponsor obligations. They're not 22-year-olds.
Right.
They don't have the time to spend to. The fish have moved around. It's different. You can't just go fish all your own spots. I think that's what some of like let's say block it for instance, or for some of the guys that just kind of show up and fish a day or two and expect to do really good in the Toyota series or the invitations or whatever they're fishing. It's not really. I think things have changed a lot over the years.
Oh.
The things that used to just be able to go down the bank and flip a jig or throw a spinnerbait or a chatterbait or a jerkbait. It's more technical than that now. I mean, it's more. There's a little bit more to it. I think fishing is just tougher than it used to be.
There's way more people doing it than have ever been doing it.
The fish are smarter. We're catching the fish and we're releasing them. Each time you catch a 13-inch bass, it gains some sort of knowledge. It becomes smarter. And after it gets caught 3, 4, 5 times over the course of a month, it doesn't like to hit a jerkbait anymore. It doesn't want to hit a jig anymore. It's got a negative effect. Instead of catching that fish and releasing it in grease, we're giving it a lesson and putting it back into the system. And those genetics are moving. There's learned genetics.
100%.
And then there's I can't remember what the name is, but there's genetics that are passed on without the offspring even having to experience that adverse effect. It's kind of like
it's in their genetic code to survive. So
exactly. They're producing smarter fish. And I think that a lot of that is going on because we're releasing all these fish back into the system. So I think fishing has gotten harder. The fishermen are getting better. The techniques are getting more.
The equipment's better.
And then you add all this technology, the side scan, the forward-facing sonar, and the extreme mapping. It's just it's a storm that the fish are getting smarter and smarter. And then when we go to the lake,
the reels, the line, everything's better.
Yeah, it just is. I mean, they're not impossible to catch by any means, but you just got to keep up with it. You got to keep moving forward or you're going to get left behind. You can't just go do the same stuff that you used to do. And I think that's one of the problems that a lot of these veterans are facing is it's just hard to keep up with somebody that's going out on the water 5-6 days a week and learning new stuff.
Let's not leave out of the equation that these veterans, it's the whole Rocky story, right? You get to the point where you're a little more comfortable. You're not hungry, the hungry fighter coming up. You're there, you're established, you've got good sponsors, you've made good money over the it's a different mindset. It just is. I don't care who you are,
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, it's the whole Rocky story. Once he became champ, he thought it was easy. It's not. You got to keep that eye, no pun intended, the eye of the tiger and it's not easy to maintain. And it's definitely when you get into your 40s and 50s, speaking from experience, it's hard to keep up with the 20-year-olds. Nothing's more humbling than UFC, right? Like you can be 30 years old and a multi-time champion, but you get that 22-year-old that's hungry. He's a handful, It's the same thing in this sport.
Yeah, I agree.
Right on, John.
Practice. The greats are good because of practice. There's natural ability. I mean, there's just some people that are just better at things than other people. For whatever reason, they're just gifted. But
then there's Tom Brady who just put in more work than everybody else.
Right. Yeah. And then there's Michael Jordan. There's a bunch of them.
Yeah.
They're great
shit talker.
But they're the greatest because they had a natural gift and they practiced really, really hard and they did the work. And that just
they demanded that. Well, it's a team sport in that case. They demanded out of everybody around them. So you could relate that to this sport if you're in a team fishing, if you're fishing team tournaments.
Mm-hmm.
But hey, Gabe, I wanted to mention before it gets too far into here, I don't know if Mark sent you this, but the pentathlon for Bluff City Outdoors fishing tournament the date has officially been set at Carlisle Lake, June 8th, Sunday, June 8th.
Sunday, June 8th. So what is that exactly?
Well, the overall event description: determine who is the best fisherman. 5 species of fish are the target for this tournament. Winning team is based upon the total weight of all 5 species: a largemouth bass, a crappie, a bluegill, a white bass, and a channel cat. The team event with 2 anglers with an optional youth angler. Now, here's the cool part. There's an optional side pot for each species. $20 entry per species. Winner takes all. So you can put in like, I'm going to have the biggest bluegill, or I'm going to have the biggest channel cat, or you can put in, I'm going to have the biggest of all. So this is the inaugural tournament. It's going to be cool. I'm not going to be able to fish it, but I'm going to be there with Mark and Tony at the weigh-in, helping them see the whole thing.
So you have to weigh in all 5 species to win, which is bluegill, crappie, white bass, largemouth, catfish,
channel cat,
specifically
channel cat, because we don't want it to be blown out by somebody catching a giant blue.
Yeah, or a flathead. I could see somebody.
Yeah, or a flathead. But then you can put in $20 side pot for each, all or whatever species you choose. So say you don't win the tournament, you still could win the biggest largemouth of the day and take the entire largemouth side pot.
Yeah.
And I think it's $120.
Is it a team deal or is it individual?
It's a team deal with an option to have a youth angler in your boat too. So there'll be like a youth division. $120 per team. So yeah, it's being put on by News Talk STL and Bluff City Outdoors, and they're still looking for other sponsors. But we hope to grow this thing. It's kind of a neat concept, like the strategy of it. Like if me and you got in it, what do? Do we go out and try to catch a bluegill and a crappie real quick, and maybe a channel cat, and then just start bass fishing and hope we catch a white bass in the process? You know, the whole angle of the strategy of it. And they did the side pot thing because that way, if you feel like, oh, I know I can go to Carlisle and catch the biggest crappie, so I can put $20 on that, or bid the biggest largemouth. But it'll be interesting to see how this evolves and grows, and you know, whether if it's a hit, who knows? We may do like a 2 or 3 tournament series at some point in the future, like Carlisle, Wren, Kentucky Lake, you know, something like that. You know, who knows? But we were just talking about it, like, you know, it'd be neat to see who's the best fisherman, not the bass fisherman or not the crappie fisherman, or just a tournament for the guys that like to fish for everything that bites, you know?
I like it, man.
Yeah, I do too. It was Mark's was his brainchild. And yeah, I hope it pans out, and I hope people show up and we could grow this into something. Who knows? It'd be awesome to see it as a tournament trail out there. You got the pentathlon tournament trail where you're out there chasing just those 5 species.
What's up, Rich? We actually started out the show talking about your viral Karen video from a while back, where the lady made the statement that she had a house with a dock on a lake and didn't want anybody fishing around her dock. And I think you said something to the manner of, it was probably not a good idea to build a dock on a lake and not let anybody fish on it or around it, something like that.
What was the New York law? He was saying, like, if you had to let other people use it. I was thinking, like, does that mean if my wife's on the dock, you just get to have your way with her because it's public property because she's on the public dock?
Whatever. It's a pretty liberal state, man.
Yeah, well, I still got guns, so you probably shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah, don't get on my dock. Yeah, I'm fishing the LBL. I'm still looking for a link. This is kind of weird, Mike. So I've been linking with in the
10 horse Monty can't find a link. What's going on? This is
I'm working on it. Well, I've had the same link, boater link, for 3 years. You know, my buddy Joe Taylor. We've linked. I fished a super tournament with him one time, and we've always linked. So up until this year, apparently, and this slipped right under my radar. You had to link. The link deadline was the second Tuesday before the tournament. So
okay,
the BFL is not this Saturday, but the following Saturday. So today would be the last day you could link up. You know, it's 2 Tuesdays before. Okay, that's the way it's always been. Well, I called yesterday to pay my entry fee. Joseph's paid. He pays all 5 of them at the beginning of the year, and so I told the lady, "Hey, I want to pay my entry fee for the May 10th LBL Division BFL." And she said, "Are you linking with Joseph?" And I said, "Yes." And she said, "Has he already been confirmed?" And I said, "Well, I don't know. I haven't paid yet, but we always link." So she said, "Well, he's already been confirmed, so you cannot link with him." And I said, "Well, what do you mean?" She goes, "Well, it's too late to link." And I said, "What's the, it's the Monday before the second Tuesday. That's always when I called." Well, apparently they changed it to, it's like 18 days before the tournament, which is the same format as the Toyota series. But I didn't know that.
Nice.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't have a link. I went ahead and paid for the next one. I just paid for it early.
So even let's just say, for example, I decided to jump in, I couldn't be your link at this point?
You could. You have to find a boater that hasn't been confirmed yet. So right now there's 10 co-anglers. There's 10 more co-anglers than boaters. There's 10 co-anglers on the waiting list. So every boater that just signs up without a link, they take one of those co-anglers off. If a boater signs up, then there'll be 9 co-anglers.
This is at Kentucky Lake?
Yes, it's on Kentucky Lake. But so if I find a boater that hasn't signed up yet and I get him to sign up, then I can link with him up until I think like the day before the tournament or something. So I'll find somebody. But it's just weird.
If it wasn't May 10th, which I have plans for, we're going to some thing at the zoo for my daughter's birthday. I was going to say, if it wasn't for that, if it was a different date, you would have a link. I'd just say, screw it. And I'd come down and be your link and go fish the tournament for the hell of it.
You'd probably do pretty good because they're pretty shallow, I think, right now.
Well, I figured a couple of days practice with you, we could probably figure something out.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we could figure something out.
But May 10th, I was hoping you were going to say it was the following weekend, because if it was, then I would definitely jump in. Like I said, I'm not against fishing tournaments this year. I'm just not fishing any series. But
yeah,
if it was to go spend the weekend with you, I would definitely be able to figure out a way to do that.
Yeah. But, like that, I should have known that was a rule. And I'd heard some people bickering about it, or just some little slight chatter about it on one of the social media pages, but I didn't really look into it. And sure enough, I found out that that's what they were talking about. But I'll find a link.
Well, how does that work for your former link? Like, does he just not have a link now, or did he?
No, he's confirmed. No, he's confirmed now, because he just picked up one of the co-anglers that didn't have a link, that was on the waiting list.
Well, that seems kind of dirty. Not dirty on his part, but just like, what, really?
Yeah, it's strange. I don't know. But
I guess in hindsight, you should have just paid your year's entry fees and linked with him right out of the gate, But
see you, Rich. Thanks for hanging out, man. I'll check you out tomorrow night if you're on. I got to do a bunch of editing too at some point. I got so much crap, like it gets away from you. Thumbs up.
You doing editing? You think?
I got the both days of the Toyota series video to work on. I don't know. I got a bunch of stuff.
You come across any squirrel justice in a while?
No, I have not.
Yeah, I mean, that's the biggest thing I miss is our days just catching whether it's weirdos on the dock or
we'll do it again.
Squirrel justice. We just need to come down and make a video of us going fishing at Cedar. That's what we need to do. Or go to Egypt when you get your boat. I'm ready to do some frog fishing with you. That'd be fun. Yeah,
I did hit a deer coming back from Cedar the other night. Well, actually, 2 things happened.
Did you hit a deer? Did it sacrifice itself? Because most of the time they just sacrifice themselves right into your car.
Yeah, that's basically what happened. Two stories, and then we'll give away this Baitworks gift card. Going to Cedar. Sunday afternoon, going down 3, turn on 148, and then getting ready to turn left on 127 heads into Murfreesboro. Well, there was the Illinois Department of Transportation trucks there. They had it blocked off. And I was like, that's weird. I was getting ready to turn, and I'm like, dang, they got it blocked off. So I pulled over to the side of the road there, rolled my window down. I was like, I thought there was a wreck or something. I said, is there a wreck up there? And the guy said, no, they're moving a house. I said, moving a house? He said, yeah, they're moving a house. They're moving a house from Murfreesboro to Pomona. So the turn to Cedar is right across from the turn to Pomona. Pomona is just a small town. It's like 3 miles off of 127. So it's a T. You go to the right to go to Cedar Lake. You go to the left to go to Pomona. So anyway, I pulled over there and started talking to the guy, and he showed me on Google Earth, or he showed me he had a tablet, and he had a picture of this. It was a house. It was like, I guess, like a double wide modular home, but it was literally sticking off each side of the road by 6 or 7 feet. They were having to remove power lines, signs, mailboxes to get this thing from Murfreesboro to Pomona. And I don't know the story behind it, why it was, who was involved in moving it, why it was being moved, who owned the house. I didn't get any of that.
I was going to say, man, why don't you just sell that house and get a different one?
That's what I'm thinking. What's so special about this house? Did like Elvis grow up in this house or something? There's got to be some kind of backstory behind it.
I get moving a modular home from where it was built to where you're putting it. But once it's there, sell that son of a gun and go get a different one. Don't
cut that sucker in half. Cut it in half.
Yeah.
Make it easier on everybody. But it's this big.
I'm trying to go fishing, man. I don't know what you guys are doing.
Yeah. And so he said it's turning on Pomona. I said, well, we're wanting to go not past that turnoff. We're wanting to go right there. And he said, you might be okay because it hasn't quite made it there, but it's getting close. And I said, well, can we just take our chances? And if not, we'll just turn around. He's like, yeah, I'll let you through. So he let us through. So we're doing just fine. There's no sign of anything going on. There's actually traffic. We're passing traffic. And we get going down the hill right where the left turn to Pomona, the right turn to Cedar is. Sure enough, there's all kinds of personnel down there. There's a couple sheriffs. There's the Illinois Department of Transportation down there. There's like 6 or 7 emergency vehicles down there, and they've got all 4 ways blocked off. They've got 127 from the north, from the south, and then Pomona and Cedar blocked off. Trucks everywhere. And
who's paying for all this to move somebody's house?
I don't know, man. But there was a lot of employees. There was a lot.
Like Panoma's mayor, or who the hell is? Why are we?
I don't know. I don't know the backstory on that. I mean, I'll try to find out, but because I'm genuinely.
That's wild. It's wild. Like,
yeah. So we're going down the hill. The car in front of us is stopped. A truck in front of us is stopped. He's kind of looking, and you look up the hill, and here's this giant, massive house, just creeping along at a pace that you can't even really tell if it's moving. And I'm like, oh, it's like seeing a tornado. You're like, holy crap, look at that thing. It's huge. It's hanging off each side of the road by like 6, 7, 8 feet or whatever. It's massive. And the guy in front of me, he pulls in this driveway and turns around. And, there's a point where you're kind of committed with a boat and a trailer. You can't just turn around anywhere like you can a car. You can't you can't 5-point or 3-point a boat. It's a little more difficult. You need a driveway. So this truck turns around, and I'm sitting there looking at it, and I see this house coming down the hill, and I'm like, we're right there. We just need to be able to turn right there. I can see it. We can see where we need to go, and there's no reason why we can't do it other than there's vehicles in the way. So I jump out and I walk down the hill. And I got my GoPro in my hand, and I said, hey, we're just trying to go to Cedar. And one guy didn't even know what Cedar was. I explained to him, this road right here, if you turn down
give that guy an
road,
armband right away. Yeah.
Yeah, dead ends into a lake. That's where I needed to go. And he goes, well, can you move really fast? And I said, yes. So he had to move. They moved 2 trucks, and this thing's coming down the hill like slow motion. And I ran up the hill, jumped in my truck, and I weaved in between those couple other trucks, and I got off the road. So he let me go by, because I had a feeling that it could have taken them 20, 30 minutes to make that turn.
Oh,
I don't know what was involved, but we could have been stalled out. And it was already like 2 o'clock, 2:30, we didn't have a ton of time. But we got through that, got the boat done, went fishing, had a great day, caught some fish. And on the way back, it's like 9:30 at night, and we're heading down 127 there. And that area is notorious for having deer everywhere. Well, we're only about 10 minutes into our trip home, and here comes this deer, runs across the road in front of us, just a doe, and there's another one standing there. So I'm slowing down. I'm like 57 to 47 to 40, and then we're both going, no, don't do it. This doe's kind of looking. She's almost like, don't do it. Me and Jerry are both yelling. Sure enough, she walks out in that other lane, and then she just starts running and runs right to the side of my truck.
Yeah, man.
Like right behind my driver's side door.
Every encounter I've ever had with a deer, I didn't hit them. They ran into me.
He ran right into the side of my vehicle. And then I look in my side mirror and I see my boat trailer. My boat goes like this. So my boat smoked it. My boat ran right over the top of the deer. It didn't hit me that hard. There was just a slight thud.
Were you in the Dodge? Pulling with your truck?
Yeah, I was in the Dodge. And then there was a car behind me, and they swerved and got over in the other lane. So, obviously the deer rolled, or it was still in the road somewhat. So I don't know what happened to it, but all I know is it hit the side of my truck, and then it went underneath my boat trailer. And then when we got back to where Jerry had parked, where I'd picked him up, we got out and looked, and there was 0 damage to my truck whatsoever. So it must have just kind of
glancing blow.
But I was like 8 feet away from a completely different scenario, because if it would have hit the front corner panel, it would have been totally different.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right, Curtis. I dodged it. I dodged the bullet.
Still not dead yet.
Yeah. So that was an exciting trip.
Yeah. Never a dull moment. Like I said, that's a beautiful drive, by the way, from Cedar to like back home. I came up 127 to Route 3 all the way up through Redbud and Columbia. And yeah, it's a nice drive.
Yeah, it is.
So do you cut over at Chester through Perryville and then back down? Is that how you get home?
No, I go through Cape.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That makes more sense.
It's quicker. It's quicker to go that way. Even to go to Kincaid for me is quicker to go through Cape and go up 3 that way.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. If you guys want to get involved, we're giving away a $25 Baitworks gift card. #M2.
Nice.
We'll get you in that draw, and we'll let that run for a couple minutes, and we'll draw it, and then we'll wrap it up. Curtis, you can't win though. Don't even enter. He won last week. He got him a nice, sweet reel from Baitworks. Hate to ring on your parade. Or if you do win, Curtis, you can donate it to one of the fine viewers here on the live stream tonight. Before we go though, we talked about Bluff City Outdoors. They have, I think they still have Cumberland Pro Lures jigs in stock.
Yep.
Is that right?
I believe so, yeah.
So if you're in the area over in Alton, Illinois, up in St. Louis, and you want to see what Cumberland Pro jigs look like, go over there. And that's not the only thing they got. That's a really cool place.
No, they got it. They got a lot of stuff.
They got an indoor shooting range for archery. They got all kinds of stuff over there.
And
Mega Bass.
They got it all. They got it all. It's and also the thing with them is, like I said, it's the barbershop of tackle shops. So go there, get you a guide trip on the Mississippi fishing catfish, or one of the crappie guys like Eric or Jay Adams. Yeah, there's all kinds of options out of that place. Me and you still need to go do that. We need to go with one of those guides out of Bluff City and go catch a couple big blues. That'd be fun content.
Yeah, I need to go up there and do a walkthrough video too, and just drop it on the YouTube channel, because he's done a lot, in the last however many years. He keeps trying to improve, and he's been catering towards the bass fishing folks with getting, you know, mega bass,
Yeah.
and Cumberland Pro Lures, and some of the
we've got the right stuff in there. That's
yeah.
With the stuff in there catches fish. That's the whole deal.
Right.
And I mean, it's just awesome to support local guy like Mark. That's, you know, he bought that place, whatever, 23, 24 years ago and done nothing but improve it. He was a little butthurt during the tackle warehouse boom. All the bass people were willing to go to tackle warehouse or other, you know, to save a couple pennies. So he kind of went crappie and catfish. And then when I got together with Mark, he was like, you know what? I got to get over that. We got to help me get the right bass stuff in here. So me and Gabe and Eric and other guys have been helping him steer him towards the stuff that you can have, the bass stuff that you need, the right colors, the right brands, all that kind of stuff. So yeah. And he's completely retired from Boeing now. So he's working on an online presence. So if you've got a bass fishing team out there, reach out to Mark. He'll work with you. He'll give you a discount code for your team, and you get a discount and earn points as you buy stuff online from Mark. So if you're out there and you're coaching a bass fishing team, or you got a bass club, reach out to Mark. He'll work with you. He'll help you. He'll give you a discount code, all that kind of stuff. He's very approachable and willing to work with bass.
He got Garmin.
Yeah, he's a Garmin dealer now. He's got a guy that installs in Jay Adams, who's phenomenal. And I don't know if I'm supposed to say this, but he's working on getting Lawrence and Hummingbird and Minn Kota and Motor Guide too.
Yeah. So he's really stepping up his game. You know, he's trying to.
Yeah, he's not gonna stock a lot of it, but if you know what you want, you can come and get it through him and get it installed by some guys that really know what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So. And he's also now a Pro Guide dealer. He's got Pro Guide, both AGMs, lead cell, and lithiums.
Okay, cool.
And like I said, you're not going to be able to walk in and get one, but if you know what you want, you just call him and he can have it in a day or two. So
yeah,
and eventually he might get to where he's stocking it, but right now he's just starting out with that stuff. So it's expensive to go buy $5,000 worth of inventory, but when you can just have it shipped there and have it in a day or two, why not go that route? Go to your local tackle store and buy that stuff.
Yeah, and
it's going to help me when I get my next boat. I'm buying it with no batteries, no electronics, I'm going to get it all through Mark.
Yeah.
So, and he's just a great dude.
Well, let's leave with one question, and we'll draw this in a second. This is a general question, but it's also pretty deep. What does fishing mean to you, Mike? I mean, that's a super deep question, super broad question.
Yeah,
super. It can be very general too. It can be.
No. It's something to me that just takes me back to like when I was a young kid. My parents got divorced. My mom remarried. We moved to a lake. And my stepfather was a bass fisherman. So that's when I started to go into bass club meetings with him, started going bass fishing, and I just got ate up with it. I mean, we went to the old school original bass universities back in the early 80s with Bill Dance and Roland Martin and who else? Tom Mann. And I was just ate up with it. And eventually I started fishing father and son tournaments when I was like, I fished my first tournament at like 12 or 13 and just got ate up with it. And took a little hiatus through high school when you're kind of riding skateboards and chasing girls and doing whatever. But when I got divorced myself in my early 20s, I fell back, go back to what makes you happy. I went back to, it sounds crazy, but I was divorced, living with a friend. And what did I do? I went and bought a bass boat. I went and bought a 1996 Ranger, the old Buck Nasty. I went and bought that old Ranger and just started fishing bass tournaments because it was therapeutic. So if I had to put it in one word, bass fishing or fishing in general, but I shouldn't say fishing in general because I suck at other fishing. I'm a bass fisherman, and it's therapeutic. It's just, it's much like the guitars behind me. I'm not the best at it, but it's very therapeutic. It's just, it's a puzzle you'll never solve completely, but it's so fun trying to. Just, and then you add that with the competitive part, but I'm never a sore loser. I don't like to lose, but I'm not sore about it. But I love fishing, but I love competitive fishing, which is weird because I'm not doing much of this year, but it's because I want to be better at it. So to me, it's like something that you can just every year try to get better at. It's something you're just always chasing. And until I can't do it anymore, I can't see not doing it, until I physically can't do it. Did you watch some of the coverage of the tournament? I forget what the name of the lake was in North Carolina where the kid just blew everybody away. The Elite Series out there in North Carolina, I think it was, when they had Basil Bacon on. And Basil's like in his 80s, and like he's like, it's been so long since I fished. I haven't fished since yesterday. It's like so cool to see a guy that won a classic way back when, and was just one of the old school guys, Hall of Famer, that still in his 80s, just out there getting after it, So I hope that's, it's just something you can do forever if you and never perfect. And some of my best memories with you, with Dave, whoever, it's been on the water, whether it's catching fish or just the conversations you have while you're doing it.
Yeah, that was Kyle Welcher, I think you're talking about, where he won.
Yeah, he crushed everybody.
Pounds. Yeah,
that was amazing, wasn't it?
That was. You'll never see that again.
But fishing to me is, if I had to put one word, it's just therapeutic. It is. It's therapy for the mind, for all the senses, the waves slapping, the birds chirping, the random tree that falls, the rock that rolls off the bluff at Table Rock and crashes into the water. That, like, if you weren't out fishing, you'd have never seen that.
Yeah.
Just,
I agree.
Some of our best times have been the truck drive to and from. Came up with the world's greatest T-shirt, Dick or Didn't days. I miss the Dick or Didn't days.
Yeah, that was funny. You either had
how many great meals have we had? Just because we were so hungry coming off the water.
Oh, the best burger, man, is after you fished all day.
Yeah,
there's no arguing that.
The cowboy grillers at Table Rock, man. The chicken wrapped in ham and bacon or whatever. Just getting down on the mountain, baby. It's just, I don't know, something about it, that sunlight, the sunrise, the sunset, laughing about how hard it's raining, whatever it may be. If people that don't get out in nature, I don't know if I trust you. Put yourself in miserable conditions.
I think you nailed it, Mike. I think it's all those things,
Yeah. It's not any one thing. It's the combination of all that stuff. How many awesome friends have you made through this sport? I mean, a lot. I'll go down the Lake of the Ozarks. If I went down and fished a tournament this weekend and I haven't seen Marcus or Corey or, Brent or any of those guys in a year, it's like we've never missed a beat. We just bullshit and talk. And
yeah,
it's having that one common passion. And those guys, a lot of guys have a lot of passions with deer hunting and all that stuff. I don't do much of that. I don't do any deer hunting or any hunting to speak of anymore. But when you have a common passion, it's the same way if guys are just deer hunters. Like my buddy Dave Holm is a phenomenal deer hunter, and him and his boys, that's what they do, that and they fish. So I kind of am envious. Oh man, I can eat a Casey's pizza anytime, man.
Casey's pretty legit, man.
Yeah.
I like a Casey's pizza.
I'll take Casey's over Papa John's and Domino's.
100%. I get sick off of Casey's pizza. I eat the whole damn thing.
Casey's breakfast pizza is where it's at.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what's it for you? What's it for you, Gabe? I mean, is it similar or?
Yeah, it is. Sometimes it's It's a way to get.
I like being humbled too. I like being humbled.
Yeah,
You know, I appreciate getting humbled every now and then.
Yeah, you're. That's another part of it. It does teach you. It teaches you patience. It teaches you perspective. Teaches you how to, especially if you start thinking about a tournament situation. It teaches you how to handle pressure, not get spun out, self-discipline, all those things that transfer over into other aspects of your life and things that we should be constantly working on to better ourselves as we live longer and contribute to, you know, our family, our society, the people we love, our friends. It's also as simple as sometimes it's a way to get out of a project. Like, you know, I mean, I'm just being honest. There's times when I'm like, okay, if I can just go fishing, that means I don't have to cut the grass.
That's because we
finished the landscaping project. It's always chirping in the back of your head, but at least you're escaping for a little while.
We're both lucky enough to have really cool wives that understand.
100%, dude. 100%. Escaping work, you know, sometimes you're just having a really rough patch at work.
Shut this thing off for a while and concentrate on the task at hand.
Yeah. A lot of times even the drive, like you said, Mike, sometimes it's about the journey and not the destination. Sometimes I think I can't wait to get to the lake, and I realized that it wasn't really the lake that I was needing to get to. It was the trip in between point A and point B that I needed. I just needed that. And then sometimes I'm disappointed that I actually made it to the lake.
That perfect 65-degree day when I'm going from Fenton to Bull Shoals and getting to drive through some of the most beautiful parts of Missouri and Arkansas to get there. Windows down, radio on. I mean, that sounds like a country song, but looking in the rear view, making sure the nitro is still behind me and just rolling through the cattle country down there. Nothing wrong with that. And then having a conversation with you on top of it's just doubly cool.
Yeah, I agree, man. That's been some of my best trips. Is that's always why I hate when I have to drive to Lake of the Ozarks or Table Rock by myself, because I always enjoy the conversations that we've had there and back. That's as good a part of the trip as setting the hook.
Remember when we blew by our exit on 70 and we were in Columbia before we realized it because we were having a good conversation? I was like, hey, Gabe, shit don't look familiar no more. I think we might have missed our exit. We went to the Lake of the Ozarks via Columbia.
Just more time to talk.
Yes, that's right. That's right. It's like when you're listening to a good book on tape, you forget where you're going. Yeah.
It's all that, man. It's fun.
Stephanie, come on, Stephanie. Andy.
He's sneaky, man. I don't see him on here that often. But
Andy, that is the widest bass
I've
ever seen.
The widest?
I've ever seen. Look how light that thing. That thing just moved up. That's the craziest looking largemouth.
Yeah, that came out of some dirty water.
Yeah, and it looks like its tail is ground off.
Springtime, farm pond, dirty mud hole. There's probably some cows in the background. You can't see them. Well, congratulations, Andy. I'll write your name down here.
Get you $25 worth of chatterbaits this time of year, my friend.
There you go. What's the best color to be throwing right now?
Bluegill.
Southern Illinois. Bluegill.
Yeah. That's what I was throwing, a bluegill colored chatterbait.
Yeah.
With a what's the Yamamoto?
Zako. Zako, man. Dude, I love that Zako trailer.
I was catching them on that and the Yum trailer. I forget what it's called. It's a little swim bait trailer. Pulse minnow, maybe something. I think that might be what it's called.
There's a bunch. The spunk shad's pretty good. There's Jerry was throwing that the freeloader, which is like a red minnow. He's using that.
The Lake Fork tackle swim bait with all the joints in it's a pretty good chatterbait trailer too.
Yeah, but
I think it has more to do with that chatterbait than the trailer. But
that
jackhammer is something else.
That Zako's pretty good though. I do like that one. It's got that like that 4 inches. Got that just a nice. It finishes out the bait nicely. Still got a little bit.
Well, I figure a guy like Brett Hite puts that much time in. I'm going to listen to him.
Yeah, he probably knows what he's doing.
He probably knows what he's doing.
Zako is a winner down here at Kentucky Lake. Red or chartreuse, white jackhammer with a 4-inch matching Zako.
Look at Kyle. He looks happy. Look at Kyle. He looks happy there.
He was happy. He just went fishing.
Yeah, he just went fishing. His
Got
wife approved.
Girlfriend or wife or looks happy. Life is good.
Baby's mama, whatever it happens to be.
Andy says we were fishing Tennessee more this year instead of Illinois because of the I-24 bridge work. Curtis, Bluegill Chatter Evo landed me my largest on Cedar this year. Chatter Spike.
I wonder if Curtis was.
There you go. Curtis has been out there quite a bit. He's putting in his time on Cedar.
I think that Curtis might have been the guy I met at the boat ramp. Curtis, tell me if you were the guy I met at the boat ramp. But there's somebody that knew you and fished there quite often. Curtis sounds familiar, but maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah. I don't know.
That's what's cool too, is you just meet a random dude at the boat ramp.
Yeah, it wasn't Curtis.
No. It was funny though, like how many times have I remember the legend, in my mind, legendary story where I'm backing down the boat ramp at Table Rock. You're backing me down. And the guy keeps eyeballing me. He's like, you look familiar. And I'm like, oh, yeah? And he was like, yeah. I'm like, well, I've been on the 10-horse Monty. He goes, that's where it was, the 10-horse Monty. How's he doing? I'm like, I don't know. You can ask him. He's backing me down. he's in my Tundra right there backing me down. And he walked up and it was like he'd met a fucking superstar. It was so cool. Like, I've had that happen so many times. I get guys just eyeballing me. It's like, I guess first of all, my nitro is pretty original, the colors.
Yeah, right. And
then the hair and the beard help.
So, yeah. You're not just your average looking guy that you see.
Yeah, I'm memorable, Gabe. I'm memorable.
Yeah, and you got a good personality too. Like once you meet M squared, you remember M squared.
M squared makes people talk that don't want to talk. It drives my wife crazy at the grocery store. If it looks like you don't like talking to strangers, you're about to talk to me. Yeah. I just think it's a challenge. Like, come on now, we're going to talk. Come on, we're humans.
I get like that too, man. Like, I guess it's the mailman in me because I'm just always interacting with the public and stuff. And my daughters used to be like, I'd go up and just start talking to somebody and have a conversation. And after we left, they're like, who is that? Did you know them? Where do you know them from? I'm like, I don't know who that is. I just met them.
I have no idea. Yeah.
But just talking.
Yeah. I wave I do the dusty sleigh and like everybody when I'm walking Hank, like the car comes by and I do we're having a good time. We're having a good time. And the people that don't, it's funny because I'm a happy, positive guy. I'm like, we're having a good time. And when they don't wave back, I'm like, yeah, then go fuck yourself. You know, it's like, why are you so angry? You're driving way too fast in a neighborhood anyway. I'm trying to just wave to say hello. And you just, yeah.
People.
Life's too short to not get along with everybody.
No. You might as well. Need more love. That's what we need more. We need more love in this world.
We need more people having a good time. We're having a good time.
Having a good time.
That's what fishing's about, right? We're having a good time. Like I said, I end every fishing report with, wear your life jacket and kill switch and don't be a dick. Life's a lot easier if you just don't be a dick.
Yeah, and I guess, we kind of touched on it, but remembering what it's all about too. Remembering that we get so caught up in, there's been a lot of negativity around bass fishing. There's, it can become competitive and, you're chasing your PB and, Jonathan and I have talked about this and my buddy Ron DeRosa, we've talked about it at Cedar. There's a 14, 18-inch slot.
Right.
And in the tournament, you don't care about those 17.5-inch, 3.5-pound fish that you're throwing back. They don't do you any good in that tournament, but they're still really nice quality fish.
Yeah.
You're so focused on the prize, that sometimes you forget.
You don't appreciate you just caught that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I had to remind myself that several times. So
Ron's still running the Vexus, right?
Yeah, he's still got the Vexus. Yep.
I think when I was at Cedar with Dave, we pretty sure we seen Ron go by. I almost pulled the trolling motor up and chased him down just to say hey. But I if it
He would have
wasn't
been in
him,
a John boat though.
No, it wasn't at Cedar. It was at Egypt.
Okay, probably was. He's on there.
And I almost pulled the trolling motor up and chased him down. And but then I thought, well, if it's not Ron, it's going to be really weird that I chased some random guy down in a Vexus.
Well, Ron always has a life vest on. Always. So that's another determining factor. Not just the Vexus, but if you see somebody that has a life vest on in a Vexus, that's probably Ron.
You can hear that Pittman at the Bluff City Outdoors. I do the weekly Leg of the Ozarks report.
Yeah, it's a good show. Good show.
Gabe does the Southern Illinois. Eric does some of the Southern Illinois and Carlisle Lakes. And we got a Truman guy and a Shelbyville guy and a couple Catfish guys that do the report on the Mississippi and the Missouri.
I gotta go. Okay, so check this out. I just got a text from my wife. My daughter's tried to call, but she texted me at 10:15. She said, "When you're done, I need help. I've been trying to capture a mole that's in our closet for the last hour, and I'm tired and I want to go to bed." So apparently
you
got in our house somehow. I don't know what the story is.
Oh, they're gentle. Tell her she'll be fine.
Yeah.
Tell her where the shovel's at. Clock that dude in the head.
I think it's a vole.
A vole? That makes more sense.
Smaller version of it's a hybrid something. We had a couple get caught in a glue trap out in our garage over the winter.
Yeah.
And
well,
that's what it is. Stephanie said, on a personal note, how old are your girls? I can't believe how much they've grown. So yeah, they're 16, Stephanie, and
yep, they're the same age as my daughter, Stephanie.
They turned 17 on the 6th of May.
Mine just turned 16, Monday.
Okay, so they're a year apart.
Are you driving?
Yeah, they've been driving for a while. They got the vibe now.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, they work it out.
Elena's taking over the Kara's little Honda, so she's rocking the 6-speed manual.
Perfect.
Yeah, I'm hoping that takes this phone out of her hand at least a little bit.
Yeah.
And you can leave it unlocked because nobody else can drive it. So,
thanks, Curtis. All right, we gotta wrap it up.
All right, man.
I gotta go catch a mole.
All right, dude.
Thanks, Mike. I appreciate it.
Have fun, kill this, and I want to talk to you for 1 second before you kill them all with a vole.
Yeah. Okay. All right, everybody. Thanks for hanging out. We'll
thanks, everybody. Tuesday, appreciate you.
We'll try to jump on here and talk some more. Have a great evening. Good luck out in the water, everybody.